We are ready to go live. Here we go. Yes. Yes, Wolf. Yes. All right. So we're going to have Tim Smith on the show in a few moments. Just wanted to shout out to my boy JB, Joe Biden. Okay, here we go. All right. So it's live. Link in the YouTube chat. Hold on. I got to get my boy on here. All right. So I'm getting my boy on here from the, seeing if he texted him real quick. I only have access to like pretty much my Gmail on here. I don't have access to my Yahoo, and I forgot to. I'm just so lazy with contacts. I really am. I'm the worst. This is one of the reasons why I should never run a business. I should invest in good businesses because I can identify them, but I can never run a business. Like, I just don't have that acumen, man. My boy should be on in just a few moments. I do believe, at least adjust the old microphone here. Yeah, Tim Smith, though, just want to give everybody a shout out to my boy. He's an incredible dude, and I think I might have to just send him the link via Gmail real quick. Hold on. Just got to look at his email real fast. Hold on. He'll be on in just a second, though. I got to look at my Yahoo inbox. I'm going to try to send him the link via email real quick. So hold on. There he is. I think I got him. There we are. That's my man. All right. So I just sent him the link via email. I think he's already on, though. Hold on. Let me see here. Oh, he's on. Okay. Hold on. My man's on. I just didn't hear him. Hold on. Let me add him to the stream. Here we go. There we go. It took a second. Sorry about that. I ended up sending you an email too. I was like being an old man with the email. So I was like, oh, screw it. It's in the chat. I linked it in the chat. Yeah. I will say this though. I like linking the StreamYard link in the chat. By the way, you're buff as hell, by the way. Hold on. Did you flex that again? Flex that again. Dude, you're buff as hell, dude.
I'm the nature boy. I got my Ric Flair signature Hall of Fame t-shirt on.
Dude, you know who else has got guns that like, dude, just like straight up like guns, like freaking Alex Jones, dude. Alex Jones has got like, that guy's got monster guns, man.
Did you see him when he was younger? Like he used to lift weights a lot.
Dude, he was like, he might have been roiding it up, dude. It was incredible though.
Yeah, he had access. Like he always complains about adrenochrome, but I think he was getting like some alien saliva or something for his muscle.
No, I'm good to get your booty on here, man. It's funny. I ended up taking a shot of vodka right before all this. Good timing, by the way. Even before you texted me to do this, I was like, dude, sweet.
I got some Chianti.
Let's see here. Well, I dig it. Well, how you been, man?
Good. You know, I'm thinking of traveling to Sicily. I'm thinking of, I was thinking of going to England on my first European trip. But then, I was watching the movie version of Patton, and he talked about Sicily is the most conquered island. The Athenians, the Carthaginians, and the Americans were there. What if I make my landing on Sicily, my first entrance into Europe? I'm part Norman French, and they invaded in like the 9th century or 10th century. There's a few Norman castles here. I can visit my family's castles, and I could probably claim it or get like a 20-cent payout or like something like that just for showing up. So we'll see.
Oh, you're on to something, my man. You're on to something. I like it.
But this is the Michael Garza show. We want to know about Michael Garza. So It's funny because I've sent my videos that I was on your show to a coworker, and I was like, I can get you on the Michael Garza show.
I'm down.
He wants to debate you because apparently in one of your videos you said it's okay to own one share of a stock, and he disagreed. So
now, did I say that he might have misinterpreted me? Because like I think it depends on what you're owning. Like if you own an ETF, for instance, like an S&P 500 ETF, that's okay to own. Like not just I think I know what he's trying to say. Hold on. So he's trying to say that it's not okay to buy like one share of each company that you like. That's kind of a dumb. Does he think that's a dumb approach? Is that what he was getting at? Because I'm all about diversification.
I don't know. He says, I think that's what he said. He's like, one share of a stock doesn't do anything, kind of thing. I convinced him to buy Flowers Foods. He bought like $3,000 worth.
See, the thing is, though, here's the thing. Even though one share of a company may not do that much, let's say I bought 100 companies that I happen to love, I know are great, but I buy a share of each of those companies. Sure, one share on its own doesn't do much, but you're going to get rando payments because each of those companies will pay a dividend at different times, which is one of the reasons why I personally don't like owning an index. Because owning an index, they pay the dividend every quarter, just in one quarter. I want to just own the companies flat out, even if I have to own just one share of each of those companies that I love, even just one. I think it's fine. Like at the end of the day, I'm totally fine. Like if I wanted to own one share of Google, okay, cool. I'll own one share of Google. If I want to own one share of Flower Foods, I'll do that too. I think that there's no end to how many different companies one can own. But you can own, I start out with one share usually because there's no commission fees. So I'm not paying a commission just to buy a share. I could just get that share, buy it, hold it forever if I really want to, and just call it good.
Yeah, ultimately you're correct, and I think he's just looking for an excuse not to invest more and spend more money on like exercise books or whatever he buys. Like last time I talked to him, he told me he's got a special. We're in Canada. He's got a special PO box in like Washington State to go and buy books there that gets sent to him, so he doesn't have to pay a duty when they come to Canada. So he drives to like Washington State, picks up the books, and drives over the border. So I don't know what's going on there. It's a little shady. So I wouldn't trust his like stock method either. I think you're right.
Well, here's the thing, man. I'd be happy to debate him if he ever wants to come on my show, dude. I'm an open book, man. I love it when people disagree with me. To be honest, it gets me a boner because I
got another coworker whose friend knows Kyle Rittenhouse. And I told that guy, I can get you on the Michael Garza show within the quarter hour. All I got to do is text him. And he refused to go on. No one but me has the guts to go on the Michael Garza show.
I think I'm just not popular enough. I'm not popular enough.
It's like when they used to have Tom Snyder on CBS. No one would go on his show. It's like only like Howard Stern, and they fought for like an hour. But it's like, no one has the guts to go on the Michael Garza show, but I'll go on.
I appreciate it, Mr. Tim. Nah, I do like your friend, man. I'm a pretty polite debater, so I'm not gonna like yell at anybody who disagrees with me. So if they're afraid I'll yell at them, I might get stern. I might tell them like, no, I might tell them it's a bad idea if I think their idea sucks. I'll be like, that's not good. I don't know about that, but I'm not afraid to disagree with anybody. I've done it for years. I'm trying to be the most hated guy on YouTube. Not too, I want to be hated for being myself is kind of the goal, because I'm not an in-between kind of guy. You either love me or you hate me. There's not a lot. I'm not really an in-between person. You're either okay with me, you kind of love me, you're kind of hate me. It don't matter though. Like,
well, who are the heels of YouTube? Like who do people hate watch? It's like Ethan Klein. I might hate watch him.
God, I got to admit, Ethan Klein is I got to admit, he pisses me off more than anything. He is anybody's fucking dog for a bone, and it's disturbing and it's disgusting. I hate it, man.
Cenk Uygur's cousin Hassan Piker. I might hate watch him.
Dude, it's tough for me. There are some people that I just can't stand them at all, like their shows. And Hassan Piker is one of those guys. Like it's like if I wanted to listen to some SJW bro talk about SJW shit, I would go to a local college campus and just listen to all the kids talk about shit. Like,
now where do we stand on Destiny?
Destiny, I don't know. He reminds me of Tim Pool in the fact that I think he's afraid to offend people. Like I really do think Tim Pool wants to be liked too much, and I think the same thing for Destiny. Destiny wants to be approved of by society in a weird way. I think he won't admit it. I think he likes to think of himself as a rebel, but he's not. He's not. I think he's too afraid to be completely hated by the masses. Same with Tim Pool. Tim Pool is so afraid of being hated. Like, he's another guy who I think, like, you put a gun to both of their heads. I think they're both going to admit that they want to be liked by people. like they're trying, like they'll actually flip flop, and I don't know. I don't know. They just piss me off. They're not bad people or by any means. I just think that, I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Like, even though I may not agree with any of these guys ideologically, like Hassan Piker. Oh, Hassan, he annoys me. That he's like one of those guys that's so tough, even to hate watch. He's tough to hate watch. And I don't really hate watch a lot of people. I think the closest thing to hate watching I do would be like Logan Paul. Logan Paul is the closest one I do to hate watching, because he's sort of tolerable, but it's like you just watch him and you're just like, damn.
I can't keep the Paul brothers straight. They both box, right?
Yeah. So it's tough. I sometimes confuse.
But which is the one who had the crypto zoo blow up on them?
Oh, that was Logan. Yeah, Logan had the pyramid scheme of the whole. I still think it's a pyramid scheme. But
with Destiny, it's like at least he'll talk to other people. But how low a bar is that? Oh, you'll talk to someone like Lauren Southern or like, do you watch Pearl? Just Pearly Things. She's like that red-haired chick. She like argues with feminists in England. She's from like Minnesota, but she plays semi-pro volleyball in England, and she only talks to like black British girls, and they talk about relationships. But I watched her a year ago when she had like three subscribers, and now she's got over 1 million. Like, back then she was just reacting to Jordan Peterson videos and trying to red pill her black volleyball friends, and now she's got a whole studio and like a team of technicians from Nigeria putting up her videos. But it's like, she had Destiny on, and it's like, yeah, Destiny will talk to people, but I agree with like Gavin McInnes. All he does is stream himself playing video games. Like, he doesn't have a right to have an opinion on anything. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't leave his like chair. All he does is stream and play video games. So yeah, he's okay. I don't hate him, but he doesn't have a right to tell me anything, because he doesn't do anything. He just plays video games and streams it and somehow makes a living off of that.
Yeah. I was like, it'd be like if I said I was like some sort of cultural, intellectual revolutionary. I'm not. I'm a fucking chode. that's what I tell everybody. But
like, Lauren Southern had Destiny on his show like a few months ago, and whatever, they talked about issues. But Lauren Southern put out a video yesterday where she like went hunting for cougars or something. Now, if Destiny goes hunting with Lauren Southern, and I see a video of him ripping out the heart of like an animal and maybe like squeezing the blood or something like that, then he can have an opinion on taxes or like or like immigration or whatever he talks about. Until then, all he's doing is playing like the new Hogwarts game with his blue hair. So I don't care what he says about anything.
Yeah, I think he's just I liked it when Gavin McInnes was on, though. I loved watching him, like, dude, because Gavin went freaking off on him, and it was so. I just loved it, man. I was watching it, just freaking the shit out, dude. Because it's like he Destiny. Because the problem with Destiny, man, is he what is it? He kind of he upspeaks a little bit. I think, that kind of like, you don't, almost in a derogatory way, like he acts like he's like some sort of king of the dome, like king of intellectuals or something, like the whole intellectual dark web thing that people were talking about for a while. I think he thinks he's a part of that or something, which he's just a blue-haired dude who likes to play video games.
Well, speaking of that, where do we stand on Dave Rubin?
Dave Rubin, I don't know. I don't even know much about Dave Rubin except for that he's gay and went from being a Democrat to a Republican, basically. That's about it. Like, I don't, what did he do? Because I really don't know much about Dave. Like,
that's his claim to fame. When he got big, people were so desperate for anyone from the left to go right that he was one of the first ones. So we just took him. But he was on the Young Turks initially, and then he went right. But what was hilarious about him is, like, when the intellectual dark web was starting up, he would have like a show, and it'd be like him, one of the Weinstein brothers, Brett or Eric, take your pick, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson. But whenever he talked about them, he would use the word we. It's like, he'd be like, people have a problem with us and we're hated. It's like, Dave, you're not in this group. You have, you're good at like, when you, like, he'll have debates on his show before, but it looked like he had a tennis match. He would just move his head back and forth between the two people debating. I didn't have anything to say. And that's fine. You don't have anything to say, but you also don't get to say the word we when you're throwing in Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, and Eric Weinstein. You're not part of the we. Just because you go to dinner, and Joe Rogan's another one who was part of that. Dave, you're not in the we. It's like, I'm not in the we, you're not in the we. All you do is have a YouTube show where these people talk and no one cares what you have to say. Like, I don't have a big problem with him. I kind of with Gavin where he like, I don't know, he got his sister to have a kid or something like that. And then he adopted it with his gay partner or something like that. But Gavin's kind of like, you're creating an orphan. Like, there already is orphans. You can adopt an orphan. You don't have to create an orphan and then adopt it that doesn't exist yet. So I don't have a big problem with it, but he's like Destiny. These people just exist. And it's like, back when Seinfeld was on, they had the joke when there was like a meta thing where in the show, they were like, got a deal with NBC to do a show. And then one of the executives is like, what is the show about? He's like, well, I get up, I go to the store. He's like, what is the show about? He's like, it's about nothing. And the guy's like, well, why am I watching it? And George is like, because it's on TV. that's what like Dave Rubin and Destiny. It's like, why are we watching it? I don't know, because it's on.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh man. I think the one podcast I got to say that I silently hate watch, if there's one, it's got to be Lex Friedman. It's got to be Lex Friedman. He seems like a very nice guy, but just like Gavin says, he sucks the air out of the room. He seems like he is just so bored when he talks. Because if you ever he's like, and do you like to masturbate in public? I can't even. It's tough to do his voice because he sounds so lifeless when he talks sometimes. And it's like, is he trying to become a robot? I think he is like implanting himself with cybernetic things, and I think he's turning himself into a soulless robot. But no, I think he's a good guy, but his interview style puts me to sleep. He's like a very boring Larry King. Like Larry King could ask, that's the thing about Lex and Larry King. They both ask very good questions. Right. But Lex is just so his delivery. His delivery is just so. It just, there's no life to it. I don't know what it. I can't put my finger on it. But
he's another guy that Joe Rogan's adopted. Like, he took a picture of Lex Friedman because they've been partying all night, and Lex Friedman had like passed out in like an airport or something, and Joe took a picture of it. Because Joe, what's funny about Joe is like, I remember when he used to have like Eric Weinstein on a lot and stuff like that. And it's like Joe knows he's nowhere near these people like intellectually, right? Oh, yeah. So, but when like out of like a 4-hour interview, like there'll be like one thing that comes up that Joe knows more about, like something about weightlifting or like spinning side kicks into like a bag or something like that. Like Joe knows more about. So when that comes up, Joe just goes off on the person like Eric Weinstein or Lex Friedman, like, you don't know what you're talking about kind of thing. That's Joe's one moment to shine, so Joe likes to get, like a Lex Friedman who's like a scientist, and just, if you talk to them for 6 hours, eventually something will come up where Joe knows more than Lex Friedman about something. And Joe just clings to that and hangs on to it. But yeah, Jacob Wolf thinks Lex Friedman is some kind of like intelligence asset, like maybe CIA or something, because it's like 1 minute Lex Friedman is non-existent, no one knows who he is, the next minute he's got millions of followers. Like, how does that happen exactly?
Yeah, it's really weird because like I know he's a part of I think he's mentioned that he's worked. Let's look up Lex. Well, let me look up Lex Friedman's background. Lex Friedman background, because he's just one of those dudes. I know nothing about him. Like, all I know is he's a part of he does AI projects. Yeah. He has a podcast, and I think he's also he's a research scientist at MIT. Let's see. Let's go to Wikipedia where all the lies are at. Let's take a look here. Wikipedia will show me all the lies I need. Let's see. Yeah. So here we go. So he's a Ukrainian Jewish descent. His father was a plasma physicist, Alexander Friedman, was born in Kyiv and serves as John A. Naim Chair Professor. Drexel, he's an eternal. Okay, I guess he sounds like he's got a very academic family as well. Let's see, his maternal grandmother was born and raised in a lot of Russia stuff. And at age 11, Friedman moved to the U.S. with his family. He attended Neuqua Valley High School. see, graduated 2001. Okay, Friedman's career began at Google, where he worked on machine learning. He currently serves as a research scientist at MIT. In 2017, he worked on computer vision, deep learning, and planning algorithms for semi-autonomous vehicles. More recently, contributions in his field of study have involved research in human-centered artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicle development, deep learning, and personal robotics. I mean, the guy's got a background. I guess, his background, I guess, nobody's really going to know about him because he works in the background. He's just another name in the credit sequence, I guess you could say, of a movie. I mean, he's a part of something big, but nobody knows about him. So he seems like he's contributed enough in the field of robotics, at least. I mean, I think he's like, when he has a guy, like he has programmers. He has programmers on, like people who software develop like technology, AI stuff like that. I think that's more appropriate because that's in his field of study. You know what I mean? It's almost like, for me, I prefer to like, talk to people about investing or, stuff like that. It's more in my wheelhouse. I mean, technically I'm an okay software developer, but I'm not at the level my boy Lex Friedman is, but
well, he has people like Rick Rubin, the music producer, on, and they'll listen to music and talk about it. He'll have a lot of people on, but maybe it's just like, I think what it is like, how many scientists are there? Thousands. It's like, how many of them have a podcast as big as Lex Friedman? Almost zero.
Yeah.
Maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's it. So, I think it's like, it's hard to get a grasp on anything now because, there's so much information. It's hard to like gauge anything where anything's at, let's say there's a school shooting, and it's in the news. But, you don't think about how many school shootings didn't happen that day. How many schools are there where there wasn't any shooting that day? It's hard to gauge society at all. So it's like, with Lex Friedman, it's like, yeah, he's a guy who apparently likes to talk for hours. And, maybe most scientists don't. Most people I've known in the sciences don't like to talk at all. They just want to be alone. So he's a bit different. He likes to talk, and that's just how it is. But, Jacob Wolf thinks he's like a CIA asset. Maybe he's pushing some stuff that I don't even know. I don't watch him that much. Once in a while, if Michael Malice is on, I'll check him out. But,
dude, I wish more people would come up with conspiracy theories about me just so I could become famous. Like, dude, seriously, like, I wish people would be like, oh, I think Michael Garza's a plant. Where the hell did I come from? Somebody created a backstory about me that was totally, I would roll with it, man. If they said like I was a CIA plant, I'm a Fed, I'm totally down with those things. Please.
Well, Alex Stein says he's a plant-based pimp. So you got to follow through on that. You can't just stop at plant,
Speaking of Alex Stein, have you watched his new show, the Prime Time with Alex Stein, the new
I saw the first 2 free episodes they posted on censored.tv.
It's pretty good. And I just love Gavin just sitting there like yelling at the audience, get off your fucking phone.
No, apparently Gavin talked about that. He was legitimately mad because all the people behind the scenes were like millennials and they were like playing with their phones while the show was going on. He's like, we're doing a show here, and he was freaking out.
Dude, that was so great. He's like, Gavin, don't talk to the audience. Oh man, dude, I love that Gavin is like the fucking get off my lawn style old man, dude. I like just like straight up like what's his nuts, like from that Gran Torino movie with
Clint Eastwood. Yeah.
And I love how his entire show is like the title for it is even inspired by "Get off my lawn," like that. Get off my lawn sort of scene. But that was a good. Actually, Gran Torino is a good movie. He found out like the people that he despised and hated, that he thought he would hate, he ended up loving. He was like, "Oh my god, they're family oriented," and it was just like they even loved him more than his own family loved him. Like you're just like it was like pretty rough, but.
No, that's the thing. It's like I'm at like my job. It's like where I'm at. They talk about racism all the time. Mm-hmm. It's like, but no, it's a weird thing where no one really, like even minorities, like no one really takes it seriously.
Like, do they think like racists are everywhere or something like that, or like is that what they think, or do they just? I don't know. Like,
no one really believes it. It's like it's kind of like in medieval times. you kind of like say in Europe, or say you were in the Middle East or wherever, you had to at least outwardly project the religion of the region. If in Europe it was Christianity, if you're in the Middle East it was Islam. If you were like Mongolian, you had to like worship Genghis Khan or whatever. But what you actually thought wasn't really important. It was more just kind of what you did outwardly kind of thing. That changed over time, but that's kind of what a lot of stuff about racism is now, is you kind of have to go through the motions. Basically, no one really cares what you actually think or whatever. It's not important. It's just you got to do you just have to say the right things, and everyone just like, all right, thanks, let's move forward now. It's just the religion of 2023. In 20 years it might be something else, in 100 years it might be something else, but right now the religion is sort of anti-racism. But no one's really racist, so none of it really makes any sense.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like, no one, like my work, it's like one person called someone out for racism like last year, and it wasn't racist at all, and they don't even dislike each other. But it was the kind of thing in a meeting, and it's like, but they were so happy that for all the racist training that everyone gets, they got to use it like one time. It's like being a karate expert and never getting in a fight. And then one time you see like a robbery at 7-Eleven and you get to trip someone. And it's like, wow, I finally got to use that one time. It's like, I didn't have to trip him. The police were on the way, but it's like, I got to use it,
Oh, yeah.
So like, that's what it's like. No one's really racist anywhere. Like 3 people in the world are racist. And it's like, no one even knows what race is. The definition keeps changing.
Well, here's the thing. I have a theory about racism I kind of came up with recently, and I thought about it because it's like, for instance, I would say that even before I knew what race was, for instance, like when I was a kid, I never had there's like a couple black kids in my school, but that never fazed me, for instance. That never fazed me in the slightest. It just never bothered me. I knew they had different color skin than me. And like, I think racism is just something that's naturally taught more than anything. That's my philosophy on it. I mean, I do think there are some people who are naturally just like, that person's got different skin than me. They're clearly different. I need to stay away from them, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think racism is something that becomes popular or doesn't become popular depending on the generations. I really do. I think racism and slavery I consider slavery to be popular, unfortunately, but to be popular, unfortunately, is what I'm trying to say. Is like, because back in the day, it's sad because slavery was a very, very common thing. But I think slavery was common, because it was convenient, and that's the sad part about it. It's convenient to use other people.
Well, slavery, the problem was they needed labor for the South to pick cotton and harvest crops. They tried with the Irish, and it didn't work. They literally burnt in the sun, and they would literally die. The Irish weren't working out for the colonies.
Yep.
So they needed Africans, and they were available. There was a massive slave trade in Africa. So they're like, okay, here's the labor we're going to use. Everyone uses labor. Germany has a massive Polish labor force, England's got like different labor, Canada brings in people from India to work at Subway and 7-Eleven. That's our sort of labor force, There's labor forces everywhere,
You want to hear a good Irish joke, by the way? Here's a good one. This is just terrible. I don't know if I should say this, but I am technically Irish, so I guess I can.
Irish can take it; they don't care.
Yeah, I am technically Irish. I just don't want to get banned. I don't think. Okay, so here I'll say it anyway. All right. So how come? I mean, because it kind of plays into what you were just saying. How come the Irish? How come you never hear about the Irish begging for reparations for slavery?
I don't know.
Well, they all burned to a crisp. Yeah. They didn't have a moment to do it.
No, that's totally true. The original slaves are Irish. They tried. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
That's the thing, that's the thing about Black History Month, is there's a lot to be proud of. Like I've done a lot of physical labor in my life, because it's a long story, but my life got screwed up. Yeah. But it's like, it's not my natural instinct. I'm much happier sitting being lazy. But there's a lot to be proud of in like a labor history. But instead of celebrating that, it gets into all kinds of like communist things. And it's like, I don't think blacks are naturally communist, but it's like, but their leadership kind of manipulates them to that. It's like, just be proud of your heritage. There's a long heritage of like black labor that you can be proud of, that, had a role in like the US and other countries, But instead it becomes this thing where slavery is like the worst, the absolute, like something to be ashamed of. It's like, it wasn't easy, and you had a culture that white people were jealous of. Like half the minstrel shows back in the day were white people who were jealous of black culture because they weren't allowed to do those songs. They weren't allowed to dress a certain way. They weren't allowed to like have sex a certain way. And that's what half of like the minstrel culture was jealousy of black culture, because white culture, there's a lot of things you weren't allowed to do. Like Thaddeus Russell talks a lot about in his book, Renegade History of the U.S. But it's like, the Irish, they tried and it didn't work out. They got treated worse in some ways because they were indentured servants, and you had like a time period, like you were 10 years or kind of thing, and they would just sort of work you to death. Whereas slaves, they kind of needed, they kind of thought like generations ahead. We want to keep this labor force kind of thing. So.
Well, and this is the worst part about it, and this is a terrible analogy, but I'm going to say it anyway. I mean, we were my Irish ancestors were the disposable batteries, and the other ones were the rechargeable. That's so terrible, but like that's the sad truth about slavery, man. Like it was, like you wish. I mean, I'm so glad it ended. And everybody, I love how everybody says America was a slave. I still to this day am so pissed that people don't know history. That they almost act like slavery was started in America when that is so not the case. Slavery was pretty much ended in America. America inspired the end to slavery in a lot of ways. So it's like, I don't know. It just frustrates the hell out of me that people think, I mean, America saved the world, in my opinion, rather than, you know what I mean? America saved the world from a bad idea, a very bad.
I mean, slavery is not a good system. It's not efficient. There's no point in doing it, basically.
It
like
breeds resentment. It breeds resentment. You have actual people with feelings who are being used, and it's rough. It's a rough thing, man. That's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm a little too emotional about it, but like,
you have a lot of cultural freedom. Like for years, I worked just minimum wage jobs, but in that world, you can do whatever you want because there's no social expectations of you. Like most of the people I work with are on drugs. You could listen to rock and roll. Once you start moving up the social ladder, you start coming into like people with families, people with more responsibilities. And there's all this stuff you're not allowed to do anymore and be part of respectable society. When I was totally broke, it's like you could do whatever you want, whatever the people at the low end of society do now. They play a lot of video games. They do drugs. They dress a certain way. They talk a certain way. But there's a lot of freedom in that. But, and I value that freedom at the time, At some point I realized I'm tired of running out of money before my next paycheck all the time. And I like to be able to do something, But it's like, but it's a trade-off, So same today, you see all the time upper class white kids who listen to hip hop and rap music because they like the freedom of it that they can't have in their family because their parents got a lot of expectations of them. They might be in a private school. They got to play sports. They got to do after school stuff to build up their resume to get into a better university. So that's this kind of class trade-off kind of thing. But, I just don't think anyone should be ashamed of your class. If you're rich, be rich. If you're poor, be poor, like do poor people stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're rich, do rich people stuff. But I'm annoyed that people are so like rich people are ashamed of themselves. A lot of poor people are ashamed of themselves. It's like I like I was talking to a coworker today who secretly told me that she grew up watching like pro wrestling, like because she grew up with the Hart family in Canada, like Alberta, Canada. But that's Michael Malice wrote in his book, The New Right. There's a dividing line in society. Who did or did not grow up watching pro wrestling, and that's the class. that is the class dividing line. But I'm not ashamed of it. But lots of people are. They'll whisper it to you. And
I didn't know people were. It's funny because I tell so many people that I'm like, I'm still pretty gay for wrestling at this age. Like I love Chris Jericho is my favorite wrestler of all time. I love, dude. I'm a Y2J Jericho-holic, baby.
But people look down. People look down on you for that. There's people who will like snicker and look down on you for that. But then there's other people who will be your best friend. But I don't like all this class division. Like I'm non-Marxist. I like all the classes. They all kind of have something.
Yeah, I mean, I choose to be a classless bastard. Deep down, I've always been one because I've always just I just have my own personal goals and crazy stuff in mind, and I live like I'm in poverty half the time. I don't need to. Like I make a good amount of money at the moment, like a very good amount, but I'm so paranoid of like me fucking up like hard that like it's one of the reasons why I continue to invest. I live off rice. And so it's not a bad thing. Don't think this is a bad thing. For me, I enjoy it because I'm basically a caveman. I eat rice, pea, peas, not pea as in pea. Not I'm not guzzling pea. I'm not guzzling your Achilles pea.
You're not the new Jackass movie or anything.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. But no, but like so let's see, rice, broccoli, peas. Definitely, I just make it all in a rice cooker. But yeah, honestly, I don't buy bread anymore. That's how cheap I've gotten. Now I'll make food for my girlfriend though, or I'll get ingredients that she can use to make food whenever she wants. Because I'm not when it comes to her, I'm not cheap. But for me, I'm just like, oh fucking, just throw me something with carbohydrates in it, some fucking protein and fat, and I'm good, and I'll eat it.
Well, the reason I'm celebrating is because I'm coming up on my first $20,000 in dividend stocks. Like, I'm sure you got more than me, but I only started like 2 years ago, so I'm coming up on my first $20,000, and I'm fired up.
Now, like $20,000 in like total stocks that just like in price, overall total price.
Overall total. So I'm taking in right now between 150 and 170 a month. And I'm going to keep building that. By the end of the year, I'll be probably 200 or more than that by the end of the year. So.
I love it, man. No, keep stacking, dude. Keep stacking. Now you're actually doing actually pretty damn decently. It's actually not bad at all.
Yeah, but like you were saying, you got to cut so many corners. I got so many scams. I got like a rental scam, a free internet scam, a free transit scam. I got so many scams going just to cut every single corner I can. But it's worked out. I've just poured money into dividend stocks, and I believe in PPC Ian. He leads the way for me, and
PPC Ian.
Reassess.
Yeah, I'm such a boring dude when it comes to my portfolio. It's so fucking boring.
Like, boring wins.
It's old man, dude. I love it. I love it though. I won't down it too hard, but
think about sports teams. Defense wins championships. Think about the Seattle Seahawks. Think about the New Jersey Devils in hockey. Defense wins championships. Be boring. Like, who cares what the fans think? You're here to win.
Well, you still need an effective offense, though. You got to get at least 7 points on the board. That's the way I look at it. But no, I think the best defense is a good offense, and then make sure you can at least play defense when you gotta. See, that's my philosophy. Play as much offense as you can, but when the time comes, you better, like in basketball, you better be willing to block that fucking shot.
Yeah, exactly. Dennis Rodman, you got to want the ball. But like what we were talking about earlier, it's like, who's the big evil Nazi group right now that everyone talks about? They're declared a terrorist group in Canada. It's the Proud Boys, right? Oh, it's like, no. but it's unbelievable to me how many like white Proud Boys are married to black women, have like biracial kids, like the ones who are in jail right now, right? Like there's supposedly the big evil Nazis. Like I don't know who cares about like I know in Asian cultures race is bigger. Like, I dated a Chinese girl for a while, and she had to hide me from her friends because if they found out, they would have told her parents back in China, and that she would have been in some kind of trouble or something like that. But like in American culture and Western culture, it's like I mean, there's racial issues, but it's not. It's like the media is obsessed with it; they blow it up, right? So it's like no one cares about race. No one even knows what it is. Like they don't know. No one's smart enough to like know what race is or isn't. No one thinks about it. No one debates it, The only people debate it are race grifters like Roland Martin and people like that who make money off of it, Regular people don't care,
I think it just boils down to simple tribalism. It's like it's like, for instance, you're from this region and I'm from this region. Fuck you. That's kind of what it is. It's not even really race. I don't even know if I truly believe in racism, to be quite frank. What I believe in is pure tribalism. And that's my thought on it. it's basic, but I don't know. I think people overcomplicate it, overcomplicate the whole race issues. They're just people from different regions, and they're human beings who adapted over time to certain conditions, and that's about it. The reason I got white skin, because a lot of my ancestors went from Africa up north all the way into the snowy fucking cold ass regions, and we didn't need as much melanin in our skin, so we got white over time. We got whiter. It's just adaptability. It's just tribalism, really, at the end of the day. And the easy way to figure out where you're located, at least figure out what tribe you're from, is to just look at skin color. That's actually sad. That's a sad truth, because if you look at me, you know that my ancestors came from like cold ass places where the sun never shined.
Well, what are you? You're Spanish and Irish? Are you anything else?
So technically trying to remember here. So I'm 25% Mexican, which 11% of that is straight up from Aztec descent, because and then the Spaniard descent, because Spaniards basically, raped and pillaged and stuff like that and all that shit, and they created Mexicans like eventually me. And then let me think about it real quick. So let's see, 11% Aztec, something else, a Spaniard, and then like 25% Upper European stuff, like maybe Swedish, Norwegian or something. And I think it's maybe Scandinavian more than anything, but I'm trying to remember the whole picture of it. I know I
heard that all redheads come from like one tiny region in like Denmark or Norway or something.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. That wouldn't shock me at all.
Because like my mom's a redhead, my brother's a redhead. I'm sort of like brownish blonde kind of thing, but that's what they are. So.
Well, that makes sense, because like I grow a red beard, so and I am 25% like Irish, for instance.
You could be like a lot of Vikings, like, landed in Ireland. So
yeah, that makes sense. And it's kind of funny though, because I think I have some of that descendants as well. I don't know. I'm a weird mix of races, to be honest. But I thought it was kind of cool though to be able to figure it, because I stole from my brother's 23andMe. He decided to do 23andMe, and I was like, and we're both full brothers as far as I know. So we both come from the same mom and dad as far as I know. So unless my mom was banging the milkman or something, that's a possibility. But I don't know. The way I look at it though, it's like, I think it's pretty funny though, because I obviously have my Mexican last name, and I think that's kind of it's funny, because I think that a lot of people always think that like if they've never met me before and they've only seen me in like a chat room or a forum or something like that, they just see my name as a chat bubble. They usually think I'm like just like some big Mexican guy or something like that. They're just like, oh, I thought you were gonna be like some brown, like Hispanic dude. I was like, nope, just a white guy.
Well, I'm like what they call in Canada Métis, which is a mixture of what they call like the indigenous, like what you guys call Native American, and then it's like the French, and then my dad's side's Polish Ukrainian, so that's what like
nice
mix that stuff. But yeah, it's like, so people want to know the real Michael Garza. So were you from Oregon?
Yeah. So so I'm technically was born in Longview, Washington. Okay. And then let's see, pretty much moved here when I was a baby. Like I was like probably 1 or 2 when I moved here. I can't remember how it all went down, but yeah, pretty much lived in Oregon my whole life. But I do like to occasionally travel to different little places here and there. I'm not much of a traveler, to be honest. I mean, I like to go to beaches. I like to go out to the woods. I like to drink in the woods. It's always fun. If you want to know what I really like, I love drinking in the woods more than anything. But yeah, I was gonna say, what else can I say about myself? What else?
So, what are your earliest memories?
That's a good question. I was gonna say my earliest memory would be. Oh, that's a good one. I guess my first memories.
What was school? What was elementary school like?
Elementary school was. I don't know. I was kind of. I wouldn't say I was like. I didn't fit in. I was a very odd kid at a very young age, so I had trouble socializing even when I was. I mean, everybody has have trouble socializing when they're a kid, but it definitely started very early for me. I just didn't want to be there. I just knew that just didn't want to be there. And I tried to, I just did it because my parents would tell me to go to school. So I was like, okay, I'll go to school and figure this out. But eventually I ended up kind of fitting in, learning how to fit in. And that was pretty much about it. I learned how to, I like the academic part of it. I always had fun learning. That's the one thing I enjoy learning to this day. Like school never stifled it for me. It almost did, because I honestly just, I hate this. I don't like the system the way it's established, but.
Well, it's set up under the Prussian model of 19th century Otto von Bismarck's Prussia. That's where we get our kindergarten's a German word, and that's where our elementary school comes from. Because, United States and Canada thought, well, because at the time in the 19th century, Germany was launching, they were taking off. Everyone's like, let's do what they're doing. And Germany paid a specific attention to their children in the 19th century. They were known for treating their kids the best out of anyone. That's why all our Christmas stuff comes from Germany at the time, like presents and Santa Claus and trees and everything. Because everything in Germany was about their kids. They had a huge infrastructure for their social system and everything. And that got transferred over here. But like you're saying, it doesn't necessarily work for everyone.
Yeah. But yeah, no,
but what was your family like? Were they fighting? Was things fun? What goes on in Oregon? And when were you grew up? The 90s?
Well, let's see. I was born in 88.
Okay.
1988, and then let's see. Because I'm 34 now.
Okay.
And yeah, just my parents didn't get along. They were definitely the complete opposite of each other. That was a thing.
So wait, your dad is Mexican?
He's it's funny because he's half Mexican, half Irish.
Okay.
So and then my mom's pretty much just European side of things. She actually found out she's also Italian, because she found out who her real dad is. So found out I'm part Italian too. That was an interesting thing. But yeah, I think that's why I'm so loud and annoying, because I'm part Italian. But and then what else? I guess as far as the whole family line goes, I don't know. My dad, he's in the broadcasting realm. He does radio and stuff like that, but he's mainly a program manager. We're both kind of savant-like in a weird way, because we both have we have a technical mind, but we're also not afraid to be out there. We're not afraid to put our voices out. And I think I'm more unfiltered than he is, though. He's more reserved than I am. I'll say whatever I want. That's my biggest weakness, and that could get me in trouble in my life. But
so you finished. What were some of your memories from high school?
My memories from high school were, I didn't really enjoy it either. I tried to enjoy it, I really did, but I would, there was a lot of. It was interesting because at the end of my 8th grade year, my parents were already fighting, but my parents got divorced. So high school was kind of a pain in the ass for me, because my dad went, kind of turned into more of a jackass than he normally would be. And, because I love him, I care about him, and then my mom got kind of ridiculous too. It's just they're both ridiculous people, but, I was glad they got divorced, but the people they became after the divorce was just even more annoying. When at least they weren't fighting each other physically or anything, because they would get physical sometimes, and I hated seeing that. It sucked. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's why I'm the way I am today, is because I think it also affects maybe not my relationship with my girlfriend too much, because I kind of use my parents as a template, I guess you could say, to understand what not to do in a relationship, and kind of I don't know, just I'm glad that they sucked. Basically, I'm glad they were terrible. I wish they were nicer to each other, but I guess I'm kind of glad that they weren't, because now I can have a good relationship, because I can do the opposite. I don't know.
But that's really what it comes down to. There's so many people who you have a choice in life. If your family's messed up, you can do what they do, and go to jail or whatever happens, or you can do the opposite. But that dividing line is tough. My brother and me, we went the opposite directions. He ended up going to jail. I stayed out, and he died a few years ago in jail. I think someone killed him in prison. But,
oh man, dude!
We never we sort of always got along, but it was just, it's a long story. But the point is that there's that crossroads. Which way do you go? Do you stick with your family's culture that you grew up with, or do you break away, which is like sad? Like, you know, you're not you're severing your ties with people sometimes, but you're just trying to stay alive, you know? So what do? You know?
I've just learned to say no to him more.
Yeah.
You know, because like I think that saying no is a powerful word. A lot of people say that no is such a bad word, but I think that if you're trying to get wealthy and you're trying to live a life of your own, you have so many family members always trying to push you one way. And the best way to stand your ground really is just to no is a powerful word. You know, say yes to yourself is what I like to always tell myself. I say yes to myself because I have to live this life, right? I have to live this life. They don't. And I tell them, so if I think that, you know, they're trying to pull me in too many directions, I say, no, I'm sorry. I got other shit I got to do. I'm sorry. I'm trying to design a life, not, I guess it's like I'm stealing from Tony Robbins right now, but he said like something along the lines of like, I'm trying to design a life, not make a living or something like that, which I think is brilliant.
But does that mess with your head? Like, it messed with my head because as like a youth, you're supposed to be the one rebellious and out of control, and they're supposed to rein you in. But you're telling your parents, no, I'm like I'm gonna be the nerd and you guys are out of control. Like, that's unnatural. It's not supposed to happen like that.
Well, luckily I was always a nerdy kid anyway. You know, I just always naturally.
Yeah, but how does that work? Like, I remember one of the last times I hung out with my mom, like, she's still alive, but she's actually in jail, in prison right now for an assault. But one of the last times we hung out together, we were it's a long story, but we were in a bar somewhere in like northern Canada, and I'd stolen my cousin's anthropology textbook from college, and I was sitting in the corner reading it, and she was like partying with her boyfriend or whatever, and she was like, "What the hell are you doing over there?" kind of thing. It's like, I'm trying to get out of this situation. I'm starting with like the ancient Sumerians, and eventually I'll get out of this, you know. But it's like, you know, I mean, it's a weird thing when your parents are like someone from like the background of like the Woodstock documentary, and you're trying to like be serious, and it's like a weird situation. Like for you, like your parents are fighting or things are out of control, you're trying to like get into something. So like high school ends, and what did you do like right after high school?
So pretty much just I started working. I didn't really have any interest in college. Pretty much just started working. I just didn't really know what I wanted to do, to be honest. I just didn't think college was for me. I knew I had enough drive and determination and you know, intellect as well, so that helped. But I'm not saying I'm like a super intellectual or anything. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not going to go that far, but I know I'm competent, I guess you could say.
So what kind of job did you get?
So I ended up working at first at a call center for about a year. I hated it. It was a terrible call center.
What's funny is like the town I moved to after high school, it's like we had a call center. It was something to do with like cell phone IT help or something like that. And everybody worked there. Everyone I know worked there. I never worked there.
Was it ACS? Was it called ACS, by the way?
No, but it was something like that. It was something like that, though. And then one day, though, the call center the management or whoever ran it just packed up and left town and didn't tell anyone. Maybe they were in debt or something, and no one got paid their final paycheck.
Oh, that sucks.
But for like years, like everyone I talked to, because I was in like the minimum wage world full of like broke people, everybody worked at that call center. I think I applied there once, but I didn't have a cell phone. I knew nothing about them, and they never gave me an interview. But it's just funny. But at the time, though, that's what everyone was working, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, and then after I was done working at the little call center there, because I just couldn't do it. I wasn't very good. I was too immature and young. I kind of was just kind of floating around for a bit. I was able to live with like at my mom's and my dad's, luckily, just every now and then. I'd couch surf a little bit, but it was never good environments to live with them. Then I got a little more responsible, and I started working at it was a JC Penn. Well, actually, take that back. I worked at like Bannon Pacific. It was like a fishery place. I did that for about 8 months, and then I started working at JC Penney.
Wait, what was this fishery place? What did they do there?
Basically, you would like gut fish and stuff like that. Fish coming on a conveyor belt, you just like kind of gut them out real quick, and then
No, that's where I worked at a fish factory in my town too, and we did like they would catch like I think they called it like Pacific whiting or hake. It was like whitefish and stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, they would cut it into like fish strips or whatever.
Oh yeah,
And
I was on the
they would,
I was definitely on the whiting crew a lot of the time.
yeah.
Whiting crew was on the one, and that was yes, and then I would also be on shrimp crew occasionally. That was kind of fun, where it would just basically just be the shrimp would go down the conveyor belt, making sure making sure all the shells are off and
No,
everything.
ours would, yeah, they'd
Very
freeze.
tedious.
Yeah, ours would go through like a freezer, and then they'd come out and we'd stuff them into bags. And then I think they would go to Highliner or whoever, and they would sort of package them how they wanted them.
Mhm.
And then we, on the other side was a fake crab. We'd make, I think it was called surimi, but it was fake crab. It was
Oh
fake,
god, yeah.
yeah, it was made out of like Pacific whiting or whatever. And then they would, they'd send it to Japan, and then Japan would flavor it how they want. It was like basically like fake crab, basically though. But and then sometimes a boat would come up from like Washington or Oregon, and I would go in and they would lower me into the hold, and it was tuna, and they would have me put the tuna in like a lift, and they would lift it out, and I would have to like do it fast but without breaking the fins, because the fishermen got paid by weight, so they want to weigh the fins and everything. And it was so funny. But no, I did that for a while. Yeah, my uncle worked there. A lot of people worked there. So.
I love it, man. I love it. I had
So then you moved on to J.C. Penney.
Yeah, and I worked at J.C. Penney for a bit because it seemed like a fun little thing.
So
and,
you were a minimum. You were Clerks. You were the movie Clerks. You
yeah,
were the
pretty much.
You were the minimum wage working world in that culture.
Yeah, and then that's the funny part about it. No, I was just kind of one of the reasons why I kept working different jobs was because one, I just kind of wanted to put stuff on my resume just for the hell of it. Also, I just wanted money, and I was like, and I wanted to put in a good day's work wherever I was at, no matter what I did. So,
yeah, but at these jobs, you got no hope of a future, right? Like, what is keeping you going day to day? Are you thinking maybe I'll be a manager at some point?
No, actually, I guess a part of me was just grateful to be alive. That sounds really weird to say, because I thought, this is gonna sound depressing, but I just was like, well, this is better than being in the ground, because I could easily be there, because I didn't know what my future was gonna be like. I just, there was a lot of unknowns for me. I had just like minor little health scares and stuff like that when I was younger, when it came to like, mental health and stuff. And I just didn't think I had much of a future. So I was like, well, I'll just work these jobs until my brain gives out on me or my body gives out on me. And then I realized that that was a terrible way to think, and that I had more of a future if I would just, eat right. I started eating right. I take turmeric every day, for instance. That's basically medicine to me, and it helps me with my anti-inflammatory diet. There's a lot of stuff, man. There's a lot of stuff. And, so I guess you could say that I'm kind of like the walking embodiment of the movie Clerks in a weird way, except for I made a lot of great friends working those jobs, like just a lot of great people I've met over the years. And then after I was done with JCPenney, I then work at the current place I'm at now. I usually don't like to say my employer name, though, just because
it doesn't matter.
Yeah. The reason I do that is just because I'm just afraid of people hassling me where I work.
Okay, I'm coming up on my first 20,000 in stocks. Do you have more or less than me?
I think this is going to sound crazy, but I think you might have more than me.
Really?
Because I don't. Well, I have 5 brokerages, but I don't really have.
Okay, but you're a lot younger than me. Even though you probably started before me, I've worked stuff out where my living expenses are extremely low, and I've been pouring money into it. But you're younger than me. You were born in '88.
Yeah, well, I do also. My cost of living right now is a little bit. It's even though I purposely like live below the poverty line with the way I do things. I don't know. It's just interesting. So I think you do have more than me, but maybe not by too much. It's not it's never a competition though. But
no, but I'm just trying to get a gauge. People want to know, where is Michael Garza at?
I don't know. If I were to take a ball, I don't. It's funny. I don't take time and add it up. I try to set it and forget it. But I was gonna say, if you're gonna combine it all, maybe, and this is ballpark. I just don't even know how accurate it is anymore. 15,000 to 20,000. It's about what you're at. It's about what you're at.
Here's what I worked out, right? Based on my current amount, with the stocks I have, if I never invest another dime, when I'm 60 years old, I'll get a extra $1,000 a month every month in dividends. If I never invest again ever after today, just with what I got, if I just let the dividends compound in a dividend reinvestment. But my point is that you're like much younger than me, so you're good. With what, let's say you've got 10,000 even, you're still good.
Oh yeah.
So
but I still invest like crazy. I still got to invest like crazy. Now, hey, dude, by the way, these questions though you've been asking, these coworkers been like coming up with cool questions like to ask me on the show or something like that, or they?
No, I was just so fired up that I'm on YouTube that I'm like, I mentioned it to a couple of people. I sent them a few screenshots. I can't believe I'm on YouTube, and they're like, "What's this Michael Garza show?" And this one guy who's like a manager, he's watched your show a few times.
Oh, so you have a manager that watches it. That's great, dude. So oh my god.
So he's like, I'm like, I got to get you on the Garza show.
I'm totally I love having new people on the show.
Well, I want to build your channel. Like I go through you. I'm not doing my own channel. We go through the Michael Garza show. So I'll see how many people I can get together. We'll put some other people on, get some different voices on. But this guy's cool. We talk about all kinds of stuff. But yeah, he'd be a good person to have on. I'm working my way up to it. He's on vacation next week. But maybe over the next few months, I'll try and get him on your show.
Yeah, and let them know they don't have to like do anything. They don't have to have any fake personas or anything. Yeah. They don't have to dress a certain way. I don't care about that shit. I take the Gavin McInnes approach and just say I treat it like we're at a bar.
Yeah,
I like try to be, like we're at a bar talking philosophy.
Well, that's why I signed up for Censored to begin with, is because I was looking at their website, and at the time they only had like a few shows, so there wasn't much to get for your $10 a month. But and I barely knew who Gavin was. I'd seen a few of his YouTube videos, but I don't know how, I don't remember how I came across it. But I go to Censored, and he's got these debates with like Candace Owens and Roland Martin and all these, like Ann Coulter, and like at the time it was hard to find these people debating each other. I found out later that Gavin had to pay he would have to pay like $20,000 to have like some of these people on. Like for the liberals, right? They wanted to be paid. The conservatives would go on for free. But and then I'm like, so I'll buy it. I want to see Candace Owens debate this professor kind of thing. Because I dedicated my college thesis paper to Joey Diaz and Candace Owens. Because they were the two most hated people I could think of. And my paper was on the gypsies who were kind of hated. So it's like, that's why I signed up initially. And but they do it at a bar, like the beginning of the debate. Gavin's like dressed as a bartender, and they open a door, and he like whispers, "Okay, come on in." Then at the end of the hour, he's like, "Oh my god!" Like they hear a police siren, and he's like, "Is it supposed to be like a 1920s prohibition, like speakeasy kind of thing?" And then everyone runs out of the frame, kind of thing. But yeah, it should be like kind of like a bar conversation, Like this is a new thing. This is what the 21st century's kind of added. Different centuries add different things. The 21st century's added the podcast, where it's hours of just people talking.
It's just fun, man. It's funny because I think of my show as more of what do you call it? I think like 80% of my show is just me rambling on about different topics and trying to educate people. Then 20% of it's just me rambling on like a maniac, like I've lost my fucking mind. But yeah, and then just this is part of the 20% of it though, is where I just talk to people and get on. Like I've been honestly, you're like a golden gem out of all the YouTube people out of people I've met on YouTube. You are a golden gem. One, you're fun to talk to just in general. I enjoy that more than anything. And you're insightful as shit. So I love it, man. I love it.
So you never went to college, right?
Nope. Just read a lot of books. I'm personally educated in a lot of ways.
See, you need to go on Thaddeus Russell's Unregistered,
Unregistered?
He was living in, I think he moved to like San Francisco or Oakland, but he was living in Willamette, Oregon for a long time because he was teaching at the university there. But he interviewed some guy from Oregon who runs like a yak farm and makes like yak sweaters or something. But the guy, I guess, knows a lot about some things. He was like a young guy, like 22 or something. But the point is that like Thaddeus Russell will talk to different people like that. But that's what I noticed about you. There was something a little different. Like you didn't go to college. You hadn't been ruined yet. Like I went to college. I got like, It looks like one of those laundry machines where they squeeze you through. Like I somehow fought my way till the end and didn't like lose my mind kind of thing. But like I got like because I was in and out for a while, and then finally I finished and then did a master's degree. But yeah, there's something about not going to college where someone has like a firmer grasp on reality. I find, something about college messes people up. It messes a lot of people up. Like, do you remember that video of the girl who, like from like 2 or 3 months ago? Her dad died. I don't know if he was her adopted dad or what, or if her mom had remarried. It was like a stepdad or what it was. But she does this thing at his funeral because I guess he had voted for Trump or something, and she's like
I
half
heard
black or
about
something,
this, and
and
she
she's going
like,
off about like he's a white male and all this. It's like, okay,
wow,
your mind has been
that's
destroyed by college professors. Yeah, like I've known these. I don't like the truth is I haven't told many people this, but I almost got fired from my job last year for fighting with a college professor over our work email system because I'm with the
oh,
government. And
got it.
you're not allowed to express political opinions and everything. And that I understand that. Anyway, I got in this huge fight with like a college professor. And it's like, and he called the government on me and had me like whatever investigated, and I had to go through like meetings and stuff. In the end, I somehow got a promotion. I don't know how that happened. But the point, and this guy has locked his Twitter account. So I won, and somehow in the end. But the point is that it's like these people will ruin your lives, and it's like, yeah, like that girl. But that's what I mean about you is you didn't go through that system. Like I feel like with you, if you had gone later to college, you would have already like experienced enough reality where it wouldn't have ruined you.
Ooh,
You
I did a trial run of college though.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. So I did go to a semester for a community college, so it didn't break my bank. I just wanted to try it. See, I didn't mind wasting a little bit of money because I'll try anything once, Maybe college. I thought even though high school wasn't for me, I got out of it alive. I graduated and stuff. I was like, well, fuck it. I'll try one semester of college. And I felt like, well, community college, I felt like high school all over again. Just, it really didn't feel any different. There's nothing that felt that different. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to personally educate myself. And that was at a young age. It took me a while. I kind of went through a bit of a, I guess you could call it a partying phase from, I don't know, the age of 23 to 26. 23, 26, I think. I don't know. And then I started getting my shit together slowly. I was still worked and everything, but I was just, I don't know, I became kind of a workaholic, I guess. But the thing is, man, here's the thing. I'm not going to down college too much. I think I'm curious. When do you think college started becoming an indoctrination camp? Like, because I felt like college here's my opinion, man. I thought college used to be maybe back in the day more about actually educating people, like actually turning people into doctors, turning people into lawyers, turning people into something that mattered. Now it's like you're turning people into protesters or something for a political agenda. But when did that happen? When do you think that started? When do you think that course happened?
I'm told it happened sometime in the Obama administration. I'm not saying it was like his fault, but it was around that time. And, he may have had some factor, but, if you really want to trace it back, I think it was really the Bush administration and the war in Iraq. It's like I got in like arguments with this in class and everything because, like the Bush and the Iraq and Afghanistan, the way they handled it, they should have never done that because it created a huge leftist backlash that we're still not over yet.
Yeah.
They created this huge communist backlash kind of thing. It's like, I'd love to go off on George W. Bush and what really happened there. I'm not talking conspiracies, but
Yeah.
But to answer your question, like I'm going to give you a Curtis Yarvin answer where someone asks him a simple question and he goes off on like 40 minutes on some roundabout thing, but I only take 5 minutes. But what happened is, George W. Bush was the son of a president. He grew up extremely wealthy, born in Connecticut. They moved to Texas. He was he was kind of an underachiever, like he wasn't a bad person necessarily. He was kind of a fun guy, and he was out of his sort of depth with this like elitist culture, and he got into drinking. He thought maybe I'll join the military. He went AWOL on that. He got into cocaine. So he was sort of the screwed up son, compared to the other kids in that family.
Yeah.
He would cocaine, alcohol. So then it comes, then he becomes a born again Christian, and he's like, okay, I'm done with the drugs. I'm done with the drinking. I'm not doing any of that anymore, which is a good thing. But then he's like, because with his dad and everyone he knew, which was a lot of oil company people, the Bush family came up through oil companies. And he was sort of the loser son. And he's got to go to every family function, every wedding, every funeral. He's the loser kid, who didn't do anything with their life. Everyone else did something. So he's like, and then, at some point, the oil companies got the idea, what about him? He's just sort of there. He's not doing anything. What if we made him a politician, and we can, we can work the system through him. And that's what they did. He became governor of Texas. They eventually helped him become president. And then, I didn't realize how much this was true. I had an inkling it was true like 10 years ago. I didn't realize how much it was true until I got into investing and started looking at historical charts of different stocks and the markets and everything. But, basically, I don't know. I don't know what happened with 9/11. It seemed like someone knew something and they let it happen.
Oh, my brother's on. I got him on. Hold on.
Really? Okay, bring your brother on.
Let's bring my brother in real quick. I got him in. Oh my God, the official. Woo! This is my brother.
Hola, amigo.
Aloha. How we doing?
Yes.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Brandon. I'm listening to night.
I got some sangria right here.
Fantastic. I am also using Brandon's body cream, so make sure to use it.
Get it?
Trying to do things to yourself.
What a beast!
Are we gonna get a live rub down on the?
I don't know. That's my brother.
Oh, is that Lambert? Oh, there's Lambert in the background.
Lambert.
John Chambers.
No, not your boy Chambers. Sorry, man. This is my boy Tim Smith, though. Tim Smith. It's my brother in the front, and then Lambo's banging him from behind. Clearly,
this was like a scene from Dodgeball with White Goodman.
Oh, yeah.
You guys remember the song "All for You" by Sister Hazel?
That's a good song.
Oh, it's
I'm Canadian. We didn't get that one.
Sister Hazel is Canadian, I do believe.
Are they Canadian?
I've never heard of her.
I think Sister Hazel's a Canadian band.
Is she a nun? She sounds like a nun or something.
No, it's a great band of like 5 people.
I'm really old. Ask me something about Black Sabbath.
Freeman.
He's got one viewer. Nice.
You got one? Is that only one person?
Got one. Just got one. So they keep fluctuating in and out.
Do they, or is it just the one guy?
It's just one guy who just keeps fapping. One
Tim
guy.
for supporting Mikey.
Say what? What'd you say, man?
I was just thanking Tim for supporting you.
No, Tim loves me, man. Tim's my sugar daddy. So
90s night. You guys are 90s night. What's your favorite thing about the 90s?
Creed. Duh.
Creed. Can you take me higher? I'm gonna sing Creed. To Lambert all night. No, Jules pretty good.
Yeah.
Is she Canadian?
Tie-dye shirts.
Tie-dye shirts.
And Sean Colvin, Sonny Came Home.
I liked Pogs.
Yeah. Pogs. Oh my.
Pogs. My cousin had Pogs. He'd throw them around.
Yeah.
Those are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were good. 90s basketball cards were great.
Oh,
who's your favorite 90s basketball player?
Well, I mean, I got to go back to my childhood, but Damon Stoudemire was my guy.
Really? From Canada? Toronto Raptors?
That's where he got drafted, 1995. Rookie of the year.
What about Sam Cassell? I like that guy.
I like he got drafted by Milwaukee, if I remember correctly, went over to the Clippers, and now he's assistant coach with the Clippers.
I like the Rockets. Remember Hakeem Olajuwon? He was good.
Of course. He wasn't bad. He was pretty good.
The comedian Joey Diaz was telling this story about when he was like out of jail and on cocaine. He was working at a Chinese delivery place, and they did an NBA playoff like bracket. And he showed up late for work, and he was the last one. And Houston Rockets were like 10-1 to even make it out of the first round. He's like, "All right, I'll give you $20. I'll pick the Rockets." And they won the championship that year with Hakeem. And the look on the Chinese delivery, like the Chinese people's face when they had to give him the money, was hilarious.
That must have been 93. But
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. I don't remember because I was too young, but I watched a lot of film.
I remember I asked you, Tim, about this, the Vancouver Grizzlies. Now,
Yeah.
did you I remember you talking about this. Did you follow them kind of closely back in the day when they were in Canada? Well,
Yeah, I did at the end of the 90s. I watched like their whole first year. And then I started to drift away because like my life was drifting away. But like I said, the culture got so much more violent. Like WWE was doing thumbtack matches. The UFC had come out. Quentin Tarantino was out. So the NBA wasn't violent enough for me. I was like becoming a violent person. And so
more boxing.
I lost track of the NBA, and then the Grizzlies moved to like Memphis or something.
Correct. Yeah.
But they're talking about the Grizzlies coming back to Vancouver though. They might get another NBA team.
Is that going to be a thing?
They're talking about it, but they don't know. We'll see what happens.
They've made there's a lot of people that want to make a push, but in the real side of it is Las Vegas is going to be the first team to get a team, and then after that will be Seattle. And just because Seattle has the demand a little bit higher, and the Grizzlies. I was actually just talking to a guy a few months ago. He was at a Blazer game, and we were chatting. He used to work with the Grizzlies, and basically, yeah, I mean the demand just wasn't there by the end of the stint. They were just such a bad organization and just a bad team that people just stopped caring about it because they were just.
Well, I think the NBA was huge in the 90s, like globally, including in Canada. And I think it took like a little bit of a dip for some reason. I'm not 100% sure why. But it's hard to like, okay, can you tell me what's going on in Seattle? Okay, their NHL team is doing awesome. It's only their second year. They're in the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs.
Right.
But what's going to happen with the NBA? Because Seattle's got all this crime and drugs and people are fleeing the city. But it seems like it's still a big city. Like, can they support like more teams?
It's actually it's crazy because Seattle per capita is still not the most crime-ridden cities. Memphis, Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Minneapolis is still up there, but Seattle it does have its homeless issues quite a bit like Portland. They're very similar cities, but Seattle is. I mean, I was living up in Portland for a long time, and the people in Seattle, man, they want their Supersonics back, and they put about a couple $1 million into the old arena, which is why the Kraken are there. And now they're ready to bring an NBA team in. And from what I understand, there's been some chirping around the NBA that Adam Silver has talked about by 2024 possibly bringing the Supersonics back into the NBA. But I don't know how much factual information that is. But yes, they have enough population, and there's a very small pocket of Seattle that's absolutely horrible, just like Portland. There's always going to be those pockets for sure.
See, that's what I can't tell. I mean, I can't even tell. I'm like near Vancouver, Canada, and I can't even figure out that city. Like I'm in there like every week, and it's like, yeah, there's massive tent cities and homeless people and some crime. But then like I go there, I've never had a single like negative thing happen to me. Like it's so hard to gauge between the news and your experience and what the hell is exactly going on. I feel that's probably what's going on in Seattle too. It's probably okay, even though there's problems, but I can't tell,
Well, it's the news networks. I mean, they're always going to try to bait you a little bit. They want to kind of, they want you to, tune in, push the buttons and get you to think the worst. But yes, I mean, like, for example, I moved out of Portland. I couldn't stand it anymore. I was done with it. It's not the same city that I moved to a decade ago. It's just not. And in a negative way. Seattle's the same way. But, however, we're just in a really, really weird part of American history right now. And that's just where we're at. And homelessness is everywhere. And it's so rampant over here where we're at because the weather is so much more mild. It's not like the homeless is, you're not going to get a lot of it in Denver because it gets like, 0 degrees a lot of the times, and you're not going to get a ton of it out in Wisconsin because it gets -30 on some nights. So you're going to, Portland during the between fall and spring, it's always like 55 and raining, so it's always mild.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Go ahead, Michael Garza.
Oh man, I don't know if I got much to say on it, man. I'm enjoying your guys' back and forth. I'm intently listening right now.
No, I mean that's what we got in Canada too. But yeah, I can't believe anyone's alive. Like we just had a hellacious winter, and it's like, but there's still like homeless people out there. Like, how did you live? Where did you sleep? I was scared to go to like the gas station to get like a chocolate bar, and some people slept outside in the winter.
Yeah.
We had snow, and then it rained, and a layer of ice formed on top of the snow, and I couldn't even walk around. But like I'd find like dead birds and stuff. They froze to death. But there's people who live through that. Maybe I don't know. Maybe if you do enough drugs, you can live through it. I don't really know what happened to these homeless people.
Is that Vancouver you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm in that area. Yeah, like I'm from Vancouver Island. I live east of Vancouver in the interior, but I take a train once a week into Vancouver. But
do you take a train?
Yeah, an actual train. It's not a light rail. It's a full-on train.
That's fucking pimp. How much does it cost?
I have a deal where I sneak in through like a certain part of the fence in the back and no one sees me. But it's normally like $10.
Dude, you still away half the time.
But last time there was a guy with a police because they send a cop with a sniffing dog to check for drugs. And he saw me sneak in last time, so he comes up to me and asks to check my pass, and it was like expired or something. So I had to like, oh, sorry about that. So I went and bought like a $10 thing or whatever for the day. But normally I just sneak in, but it's like $10 each way. It's not that bad, but it's like an hour and 10 minutes from where I am into downtown Vancouver. Then I go back at night, kind of thing. But yeah, with this homeless, like I don't know, it's hard to get a gauge on it. It's hard because like these like city councils have become really communist. Like, are they going to raise city taxes, and people are going to flee the city? Can you support more teams? Like, I can't figure out like what the hell is going on. Like Vancouver City Council took a bunch of taxpayer money and used it to buy lawyers to sue oil companies for climate change. But then that council got voted out. Now we have a new council. But then they've also legalized like small amounts of drug possession. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you can have an NBA team or not.
I don't think Vancouver like right now is in the market to be an expansion team of the NBA, and that's not because I don't want them there. I miss the Grizzlies in Vancouver, quite frankly. But it's just for profitability wise for the NBA, Vegas and Seattle are the two destinations to bring. If they're going to expand, it's going to be those two cities. Like just if they're going to look at profits, because Vegas is, since they brought hockey and they brought the Golden Knights there, which has been insanely profitable for them.
Well, I will say this: every Canadian I talk to either just came back from Vegas or is just about to go there. Canadians love going to Vegas, and that's got to be like a big part of the Golden Knights like fan base is just Canadians looking for something to do on like a Tuesday in like Las Vegas or something.
They put on a hell of a show there. I saw some video on like just the do at the arena. I mean, it's Vegas. They put on a show. It's the same thing if you're gonna go to a Vegas Raiders game. They got rappers that show up. Like they had like oh gosh, who they have? Dre, I think, came in and he was rapping at a halftime show. Like it's Vegas. I mean, they get the biggest act.
It's kind of weird because it's like Vegas, like no one ever knew anyone lived there. Like who would support their teams because it was all tourists, right? But then over time, like an infrastructure built out where people actually live there. But it's like I have it's weird though. Like one of my favorite comedians is Joey Diaz, and he did like a special in Vegas, and the crowd was just dead. Like his set wasn't that bad, but the crowd was dead. And he thought it was like one of the worst things he's ever done kind of thing. And I've got a concert Blu-ray of the band Kiss playing in Vegas. And there's something weird about the crowd. Like they're there, but they're just sort of like staring at the show. Like there's something weird about crowds in Vegas where they're like, I don't know if they're tourists or if they're just hungover from 4 days of drinking or what. But they're just sort of like, they're there, but they're not really into it. But I have to say the Raiders and the Vegas Golden Knights, it seems like the crowd is into it. I think those are locals who support the team or something.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders do travel well. I mean, they Oakland's not too far away from Vegas. I'm sure a lot of people fly in, but the Raiders travel well. And like I said, Vegas is a huge city now. Like it's expanded. Like Henderson is absolutely ginormous outside of Vegas, which is one of the suburbs, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And it's in a freaking desert. Like that's the part that just blows my mind. It's like there was nothing there, I'm sure, 100 years ago, and now it's a freaking huge metropolitan. And they're getting water shipped in from Colorado. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, it's.
Yeah, I did deep dive on California like a while ago. I was like, where did they get their water? And it's like, I think it's mostly from like the Sierra Mountains. I saw like a thing that comes in, but yeah, Vegas has got to get it from probably Utah, Colorado.
Yeah, they get it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all about desalinization, baby. I say get a desalinization and get a big old tube that goes all the way from like fucking California, Pacific Ocean, all the way to Vegas, and then we'll flood the desert. We'll flood the desert with desalinated water and call it good.
I was only in Vegas a long time ago. I was like 8 years old or 10 years old or something like that. And the two things I remember were there were like porno mags just like on the sidewalk, like you could pay 25 cents and open. And then the other thing was Circus because they had one of those Star Wars arcade machines where you sit in and it's like you're in the ship and you're like bouncing around. But those are the two things I remember: Circus and the like 25-cent just like nudie mags right in the things.
Well, they hand out cards for a prostitute. Send a prostitute to your room.
They got any discounts like buy one get one free or something? You know, I'm
watching Shay right now, singing it up right now.
Well, the funniest
who's singing it up?
Nick Lachey.
Nick Lachey?
98 degrees right now.
Who's playing? Is Lambert playing 98 degrees?
I am. In my
you. God damn it!
You ever see that sketch? You ever see that sketch that Foo Fighters did where they had Nick Lachey as the new lead singer?
Oh yes!
Yeah,
oh my god, that was a beautiful fuck. I gotta send that, Brandon. I don't think you've ever seen that, have you? Where Nick Lachey actually, there was a skit they did. I think it was an April Fool's thing or something like that. And Nick Lachey was pretending to be the new lead singer of the Foo Fighters because David Grohl was like stepping down or something. And you hear Nick Lachey singing in his boy band voice all the Foo Fighters songs. It's fucking good.
That's pretty good. That'd be
my favorite thing about Vegas is the Pawn Stars like pawn shop.
Oh yeah.
But no, what's hilarious about that is every single one is like, I think I've told Garza this, which is like some guy shows up with like his wife has FedExed him his baseball cards from the attic. And he shows up there and he's like opening the box. And you can see in the background, there's some guy in the parking lot with like a baseball bat. And there's like an angry looking hooker. And he's like, owes these people obviously a lot of money. And he's trying to tell the Rick guy in Pawn Stars, it's like, yeah, I was just looking to sell my baseball cards to give my grandma a nice retirement. I was going to send her on a cruise or something. And then he's like, can I get $1,500? I really need it. And they're like, I'll give you $20 for your baseball card. And he's like, that's not going to cut it. And then finally he's like, okay, fine. And he goes down the parking lot and he knows he's about to get like beaten up and have his kneecaps busted or something. But that's my favorite part of Vegas is the Pawn Stars pawn shop.
I forgot. That's right. It's still heavy. But all right, boys. I got a jet. I am so freaking tired. I've been day long, and I am ready to fall asleep and go from there.
What's your closing words? What's your advice for America or the world?
Yeah, we need words.
Advice for America is have some more empathy. Love one another and. Let's not take sides, Let's work together, and if we can work together, who knows what the hell we can accomplish as a country.
Brandon, all I gotta say to that is fuck you, Trump 2024, baby. Just kidding. I'm all about division. Let's divide.
Kerry Lake got screwed in Arizona. That's all.
All right. Hey,
I love you, Brandon.
What was
all
your
jokes
name?
Tim Smith. His name's Tim Smith.
Tim, really good to meet you, bro. Have a good rest of your night.
We'll see you next time.
Love you, Brandon. Later, bud.
Man, people are popping into this show. It's becoming a good show.
Yeah, no, I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it. I was so happy to get my brother on because I've never had him on I've had him on the phone and stuff, but I've never had him on like the camera, in that Zoom setting, which I thought would be pretty pimping.
So you're in Oregon. I have to say the greatest experience of my life happened in Portland, Oregon. I think I told you this, the Smashing Pumpkins concert I went to. It's like I became a fan. I first heard them in 93, like most people. Most people didn't hear them before that. Some did, like in Chicago or whatever. But I heard them in 93. I was a fan, but I never had their albums like 93, 94, 95, 96, 97. I'd see them when they came on TV. I'd hear them on the radio. I was a fan. And then around like 98, I was in a drafting and design class in high school. And we had this cool teacher who later got busted for having a marijuana grow up in his house. He's like the rugby coach, and he was like growing marijuana, and he got fired. But he used to play the alternative station from Seattle, the N95.3 or whatever the hell it was. And Pumpkins came on in 98, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a big fan. I went and bought their CDs. I became a big fan. So then it's it's year 2000. They've announced they're breaking up. This is their final year. They came back again in 2007, and they're still going, but 2000 was their final year. So I go to work for my dad. I've told you about him. I didn't know him that well. He's like in construction. I went to work for him in a different province. So I'm working for him for like a few months. We get in a big fight. I leave. I'm taking off. I drive for like 5 hours to the next town. We're in like northern Canada where there's nothing. So I get to a hotel. I call the girl who I was dating like at the end of high school, who are still together. And I tell her, hey, I just quit my job. I'm coming back to like the province kind of thing. She's like, oh my God, our friends like Kim and Chris, they got us tickets to Smashing Pumpkins in Portland, Oregon. I'm like, what? And then everyone in my family and everyone else thought I quit my job to go to the Pumpkins, but that wasn't true. I quit, and then I found out on the phone that I was going to Pumpkins. But the problem was Kim and Chris didn't have a car, and I was the only one with a car. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll drive you. I'll do anything to go to the Pumpkins. They're my favorite band. So anyway, it was like a couple weeks later, we drive from Vancouver. We're going to Portland. We go through Washington State. We get to Oregon, and it's like a rainstorm. The rain's coming down. I've never seen. We cross the bridge that goes over the river. We get to Portland. We go to a KFC. Your guys' KFC had mashed potatoes. In Canada, we didn't have that.
Lambs. That sucks.
So anyway, we get the hotel. We go to the venue. We met some like a brother and sister from Oregon, and they were like Greek or something, but that was cool. Anyway, we had amazing seats. This Chris guy, who is my girlfriend's friend Kim's boyfriend, and Kim and Chris weren't really they didn't really like each other or something, but they were a couple. It was like really weird, but anyway, he got us tickets. And tickets were $25 back then for like third row. Like now, tickets for Pumpkins for third row is like $1,000. Tickets for any band like third row is like $1,000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but we were at the Portland Civic Auditorium. We go there, and I'd always heard the Pumpkins on like cheap little headphones, like plugged into my like mini CD player or the TV with the little crappy little speaker. I heard it a bit in my car, but anyway, when they played, it was like unbelievable. And my ears were ringing for like 3 days because I never heard anything that loud before. But yeah, that was still the best concert I've ever been to. It was like there's no opening act. It was just them. They showed up. It was just like the Pumpkins. And that was their third to last show ever in the US at that time. They went to like Asia after that, and then Europe, and then they played like 2 more shows in Chicago after that, and then they broke up. They came back like 7 years later, but yeah, that was my greatest experience of all time. Portland, Oregon, 2000, Smashing Pumpkins. It was like unbelievable. So that's my Oregon connection. That and Thaddeus Russell, who's like from California, but he lived in Oregon. But he helped change my life too. It's like, I talked to Thaddeus Russell before he was like a bit bigger than now. I had him on Facebook. But you can probably still talk to him if you wanted to. He's not like huge. He's like, he's professor big. He's like intellectual big. Where like it's not like a celebrity. Like if you really had to talk to him about something, you could get a hold of Thaddeus Russell. But like he's not going to answer every email kind of thing. But
yeah.
I
love it, man. I love it.
Man, so that's your life. You finished high school, you start working these jobs, and you're still working these jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's something about that where it's like, you weren't corrupted by college. That's actually one of the things Thaddeus Russell says. People who weren't corrupted by college. You think about the people who weren't corrupted by college. Hotep Jesus. You ever watch Hotep Jesus?
Oh, Dev Jesus, no.
He's that black guy. He got famous a few years ago for going to a Starbucks and convincing the barista in the back that it was like some sort of Black Reparations Day and they should give him free coffee. So they gave him like a bunch of free coffee, and he did a video of it. But now he has his own podcast. He's been on Michael Malice. He's been on Joe Rogan. He's like really interesting. But that's the thing. That's what I look for in life. People haven't been corrupted by college. There's something about them that's just a bit more real. Like the people I knew in college, like they had this default where they defaulted to communism. It's like communism's not going to help you, Communism's a scam run by rich people who just want to take your money.
Actually, communism is the ultimate grift in a lot of ways. It actually is the easiest way, because think about it. When you start a commune of people who rely on the group, right? Like you see it in cults all the time. Cults are a great example of a certain form of communism in a lot of, and that's how they usually start off, as a communist sort of thing. Like I don't know. But for me, here's the thing. I think the way that college is structured can turn, I think it can turn professors into little communists. I'm not completely against communism, by the way, even though I trash it all the time. We're kind of a communist. We're turning a little communist every day, unfortunately. But
look, there's Slavoj Žižek's version of communism, which is very practical. Like maybe you agree or don't agree. Have you ever seen Slavoj Žižek, the Slovenian philosopher? He rubs his nose a lot and slurs a lot. I don't know if you've seen that guy.
Does he have a beard?
Yeah, he's got a beard.
Is it like a big white beard?
Sort of.
That might be the guy I'm thinking of. I don't know.
But he's like, I'm not an old style communist. He's like, it's complicated, but he's like, he's communism in a practical way kind of thing, in a way that's going to make sense to local communities. But in general, these communist professors, it's like this one guy at the university I went to, he gave a whole talk on like climate change, right? To mostly seniors, because that's who goes to talks, in my hometown. It's like people are 65 and have nothing to do. So they'll go to like a talk by some professor, right?
Yeah.
And he's like at our university that I went to, some professor who had been working there for 20 years, she got fired. She's like in she's like biology or something. Or geography or something, but she got fired because she did a study that found that the polar bear population in the Antarctic had actually, or in the Arctic in the north, had actually grown in the last 10 years, not reduced. So she got fired for that. And she was fired by the administration of her university, who have no science background. They're just administrators. And
they're pawns is what I call them, pawns.
Yeah, and this professor who's like from Washington State, he came up here and he's like, because someone asked him in the crowd, some seniors, like, who should we listen to when it comes? And he's like, well, I don't want to be too cliche, but you should listen to the experts. It's like I saw this on like a YouTube like live stream, right? I wasn't in the crowd. I'd moved from that city. But if I was there, I'm like, excuse me, your university fired an expert because she disagreed with the administration's political narrative who has no science background. That's what I'm talking about. It's all a scam. So yeah,
I agree. I'm glad I only went to like a semester of college just to try it out. It just wasn't for me. I didn't want to go into long-term debt or anything. For even community college is relatively cheap. It was just, I just didn't see any positive gain out of it, because I would have had to work while going to college. And I thought, well, what if I just read a lot of books after work? And that's what I would do. After I was done working, I would read for about an hour. I would typically go to Goodwill. It's just a little thrift store in our area. I go to Goodwill and then buy a lot of books that gave me like an education that I needed, financing, how to like budget stuff. I was like, what can I learn today? So I go to Goodwill. I walked everywhere, man. I didn't start driving until I was like 27. But yeah. And then pretty much from there, I don't know. Here's the thing. Outside of it though, the reason I do this show, just as a quick heads up, the reason I do this show is it's another stream of income for me. That's nice. But The other reason I do this show is because I legitimately have fun either conversating with people, just talking, and or just teaching people, because I feel like I'm a teacher that I'm like a professor that hasn't succumbed to communism, I guess, or hasn't become a, I don't know. I'm not totally against people who believe in communism, as I will never be against anybody, to be honest, unless they do terrible, terrible things. Um, but yeah, outside of it though, I don't know. College never corrupted me, I guess. Even if I would have went to college, I don't think it ever could have. I'm too defiant. I'm just too mentally defiant to a lot of, if I think an idea is bad or if I think of a way of living is bad, I just defy it. And that's about it.
Yeah, that's where you have to live, because you get fed so much BS, whether it's like government, corporations, whatever. Everyone's trying to sell you something, you know?
Yeah.
So the only way to survive is to be kind of defiant against everything, be skeptical of everything, be defiant of everything.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's trying to sell you something. It's so crazy, you know? It's like, you know,
Best thing is do your research. Do your research all the time, man. There's research. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and it's never been more easy to research. We never had more information, you know. Like, you can go to archive.org and just read books from like 200 years ago, 300 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago.
How long has archive.org been around? Holy shit. I need to.
But they've got so much public domain stuff. You can read like Sumerian poems from 5,000 years ago. You can read a biography of William Randolph Hearst from 100 years ago. You can read a biography on the British circus proprietor George Sanger.
So is this all in the public domain?
Yeah, it's all public domain. It's all free.
Dude,
yeah.
Are you saying, oh my God, that's actually kind of cool, because think about it this way. I could take things and like, I could take ideas, for instance, I could take like, this is the best thing about the public domain is you can find something like a good idea and then turn it into something, like take that element of the idea and then turn it into an invention that's like on its own creative, like its own original idea. I need to look through I wonder if there's any like, inventions. Hold on. I want to see what sort of public domain inventions are listed on here. Oh my God.
You just produce something out of your apartment.
It'd be so, because I love fucking with ideas. I like taking like random ideas and just seeing how I could roll with them. I'm just a weirdo like that, man. I'm like a mad scientist at this point in my life.
What I want you to do, if you were ever going to do me a favor, is at some point watch David Lynch's Inland Empire. And
let me I wrote it down, but
what I want you to do is come up when you watch it. It's a 3-hour epic. I want you to come up with like a list of questions, and I want to do a live stream where you just ask me questions about the movie. That's what I want more than anything else. Like, if you're ever going to do me a favor, you don't have to. Yeah. But if you, because I know you're not a big movie watcher, you said, but if you ever watch a movie, and you're going to have a lot of questions, I'm just telling you now, because everybody.
Remember you said David Lynch's Inland Empire, right?
Yeah. Inland Empire is the area around San Bernardino, California. But, you know, in the 19th century, 18th century, it used to run from California up into British Columbia. It was basically the whole inland part of the West Coast that they called Inland Empire. It was like the British Empire or the Spanish Empire, but it was the inland part. But that's not what the movie's about. It's about, well, not really. It's kind of about a state of mind. But it's really complicated, but it involves like 19th century Poland. It involves World War II. It involves gypsies. It involves folktales. But I just want you to watch it, go in fresh, not knowing anything. And just, if you have any questions, and I want to do a live stream, and I want you to label it David Lynch's Inland Empire questions answered.
I actually just looked it up, just pulled it up on like Wikipedia and stuff. I'm actually going to put this in my Google Keep real quick, and I'm going to pin it.
I will tell you this. I don't claim a lot of things. I'm not like a super great person. I haven't achieved a lot. The one thing I've achieved in life is other than David Lynch, the filmmaker, and Laura Dern, the actress who he explained the movie to, because she refused to do the movie if he didn't explain it to her. Other than those two, I'm the only one in the world who understands the movie, unless you've read my book. And there's a bunch of people who bought my book on Amazon. But I'm the only one who understands it. Because I did the research, because movie fans don't like reading, right? And they didn't want to do any research. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say.
Funny, the irony is I love reading so much that I don't watch a lot of I mean, I watch YouTube shit, but
Like I here's what I'll say. There's only like in terms of other art forms, right? Like literature, painting, sculpture, like performing arts. I could probably count on one hand the amount of movies that I think measure up to the other art forms, and Inland Empire is one of them. Like, let's say there's a handful. It's like Inland Empire and like a few other ones, but not much. You can count them on one hand. That's all I'll say. So it's a life-changing experience.
yeah,
I saw the movie when I was working at a gas station, and I was so freaked out by it because I had this tradition because I had watched one David Lynch movie at midnight one time, and then when I got into his other movies, I'm gonna watch them all starting at midnight. So this one came out in like 2007. I watched it at midnight. And I was so freaked out. I'm like, I got to go talk to the graveyard shift guy at my gas station. So I leave my house. I start walking down the street, and I thought the trees were following me. I was like looking up and looking at the trees. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't anything. I thought the trees were chasing me. I start running. I eventually get to the gas station. I start talking to him and explaining the movie. You know, he probably thinks I sounded crazy, but I was so freaked out. That's the one time in my life I was ever freaked out by a movie.
Damn. And it was this movie, the Inland Empire movie?
Inland Empire, yeah. I mean, I don't know where you stream it, maybe Amazon or something. Back like 2 years ago when I reconnected with my dad, I got him to watch it. And,
I'll find a way. I always find a way. If I need to, I'll rent it. There's a little. I bet I could rent it for like $1 on some random streaming site or something. But
yeah, you can find it somewhere. Yeah, they're coming out with a criterion of it. Like it's on a 4K re-release tour right now. And when it came to Vancouver, I contacted the theater that was showing it, and I told them, please let me introduce the movie or something. So they let me. I got to go up before the audience in the theater, and I read like my thing, and I'm like, introduced the movie for like 5-10 minutes, and people clapped. It was nice of them. But it's like, I told them, like, you guys get the extra weird screen of Inland Empire where some guy shows up at the beginning and just starts talking.
And now you're talking about the movie that came out in 2006, right?
Yeah, it was released in 2006. It kind of hit like DVD in like 2007. But
got you. Because this is what I'm looking at right now. Is I want to make sure I got the accurate one. I want to make sure I didn't like mess anything up here because it looks like
in my opinion, it's the greatest movie of all time. Like I could probably I've got in my collection 200 movies, but there's only like 2 or 3 that I would tell like other people that you have to see. Like the rest are all just whatever. Like I like them, but they're whatever. There's only 2 or 3 movies you got to see. One of them's Inland Empire.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at some of the. I'm looking at. I just had to pull up Wikipedia article on it. Just looking at like the critical reception.
It's mixed. It's mixed. Some people.
It's interesting.
Some people
yeah. Some people were like, "This is incredible," or like, let's see. Oh, that's not bad. I mean, like honestly, some movies, if it's either mildly controversial or actually forces you to think, usually ends up being critically like. There's like, what do you call? What's the word called? It's usually not. I can't think of it.
I told the audience that I introduced it to, this is the greatest film ever made, and I stand by that.
I definitely want to give it a try. I wonder if my girlfriend's heard about it. I'll have to talk to her.
Yeah,
about
you guys should watch it together. Watch it together.
Be good.
And just, I want you to ask me any question, and that's the challenge. Can I answer every question? Because the truth is, I can't answer every single question. But I might be able to answer all your questions. I can't answer all of my own questions, but I can answer most of them.
Well, I might be able to come with some. It'd be kind of fun for me to just like get a notepad out while watching it and just kind of like, be like come up with questions like what the hell's this about? Like what's going on here? Like I always get kind of curious because like I don't really watch a lot of movies. Sometimes I'll watch like an anime or two or something like that. Like I like anime. I'm not gonna lie, it's always fun to watch anime and stuff, but. I watched like Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War came out recently, which is incredible. If you're, I don't know if you're much of an anime guy, but
no, I've seen some of the major ones like Akira and Hiro Miyazaki. I've seen like Spirited Away, and I like My Neighbor Totoro. I think is one of them, and
it's a classic.
Which is the one with the girl? Oh, Kiki's Delivery Service.
Oh, I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen that one. No.
Yeah, that's a good one. You know, there's something about anime, I will tell you, where it's like, it's fascinating. Like Akira, I noticed this in some other ones,
Mhm.
where it's like, you know, I don't know, you get absorbed into the cities that they're in. Like
Oh yeah.
like they're in Japan, right? And it's like you're kind of absorbed into the buildings and the side streets and the alleys. And
Mhm.
after a while, you feel like you're in there, and you kind of get lost in it.
There's a certain immersion that I feel. Yeah, I know what you're saying, because like when I watch Bleach, for instance, like the cities are so well drawn, the characters are, you know, well, cartoony, you know, just the stories that go into it too. The
Do
story,
you remember?
you almost feel like you're in that world a little bit, and it's kind of like you almost feel like there's definitely a level of escapism that I love about anime, because it's definitely nothing about it is even close to real life, you know, like
Yeah, but
and
getting lost in those landscapes and those cities, that's what I like about anime. Like I don't watch as much anymore, but back when I was like a really big movie fan, it's so crazy. Like I you know, I watched movies in the 80s when I was a kid. And the 80s was a perfect time to be into kids movies because they had a lot of great kids movies, you know. Because the kids movies in the 80s weren't necessarily directed at kids. It was a bit broader audience. Like they were kids movies, but you know, there'd be swearing, there'd be making out, sometimes there'd be nudity, sometimes there'd be violence. They hadn't defined what's a kids movie or an adult movie yet.
yeah,
It was a lot more
yeah.
like whether you're watching Gremlins, The Goonies, Star Wars, any Spielberg movie in the 80s, it was a much more broad thing. So like you're a kid, but it's kind of lifting you up a bit instead of just like you're a kid, so you're only gonna like this, which is kind of what came in the 2000s kind of thing, you know. But so because of that, you know, yeah, 80s were a perfect time for that. But I can't remember. Go ahead. Whatever you were saying, I forget.
Yeah, I'm going all over the place right now. I'm so going all over. I'm liking what you're saying though. But no,
No,
I was thinking, I just thought about it. I was trying to come up with like an intro for my show, by the way. And a part of me is wanting to see if Ascension Millennium by Corey Feldman is
Corey Feldman. He's the 80s. Like, you know, he was my favorite
yeah.
guy in the 80s. Like his character in the Goonies mouth, that was me. I was like the smartass in school who was always trying to make people laugh. But you know, that's what he is in Goonies, you know.
Well, one of the things is I was thinking about it, and I was like, what would be a great ridiculous song to just have as just part of it as like a 30-second intro for my show, just playing like Ascension Millennium in the background while I'm like talking out my intro or something like that.
They
It's
said
like,
they kept me down. It's like
Ascension Millennium, got the feeling in your soul.
what's hilarious is like no matter how crazy he goes, like we talked about Destiny and other people, for some reason I can't hate Corey Feldman.
Oh no, I can't, dude. I'm in love with Corey Feldman. In fact, it's so funny. Like even though a lot of the stuff he does now is very, very cringeworthy, like I find like some of his stupid fucking songs get stuck in my head. I'll be like I'll be like humming along in the shower, be like Ascension.
No, okay, I will tell you right now. I swear to God. What was that song where he went on a talk show and everyone made fun of him? And he had to go back and remember he had to go back and do it again. They let him sing it again or something.
Was it like the Today Show? I think probably.
Yeah,
it might have been the Today Show.
But he did a music video where Snoop Dogg's in it for that song.
Oh,
you know, you got to go for it. He's like, go for it. Go for it. That was like, okay, that was around the time I was making my comeback in ice hockey. I hadn't played in years. And that was the song I'd sing over in my head when I was stepping out on the ice. It was like, if Corey Feldman can make a comeback in music, I can come back in ice hockey.
Dude, that's
like,
inspirational.
he'd be like, go for it. Go for it.
Oh, did you realize what the title of this video is the whole time? Has been the whole time?
Yeah, what did you say? Joe Biden is my president.
Is my favorite president of all time. I put hashtag GOAT for greatest of all time.
No, it's hilarious because Joe Biden's the worst president of all time.
I know.
But like, how many countries right now have their worst leaders of all time? A lot. Like USA is not. I'd love to pick on you, but I can't because France has a crappy leader.
Yeah.
Britain has a crappy leader. Canada has a crappy leader. You could argue China has a crappy leader. A lot of countries have a crappy leader right now.
Well,
That's
the problem is a lot of systems that are in place. You can have like the reason I love him, the reason I'm so gay for America's system is you can have a shitty president, but as long as you got a solid base with the House of Representatives and the Senate for the whole legislative branch, you're pretty much got some safety nets there because still got to go through them for a lot of shit. But like it's I don't know. I think even if you have a shitty leader, like I think Biden sucks ass, but
yeah, well, Canada has this weird thing where the default is that we hate Americans and make fun of it. At the same time, we consume like an enormous amount of American culture. Like I don't do the first part. I don't pretend like I hate America. Like that's true of everywhere. Like if you're in Belgium, you hate France just because you're the smaller country, they're the bigger country. If you're in Netherlands, you hate Germany, you're the smaller country, they're the bigger country. If you're in Ireland, you hate England. Same thing. That's just sort of a normal reaction to have when you're the smaller country. Like same with Canada, US. But I don't play that. I don't play that game. I'm not gonna like pretend like I mean, the amount of influence the United States has had on me, like it's more than Canada's had on me. Like I can I can name specific people in Canada that you won't know. They've had an influence on me, and I'm grateful. But to pretend that America hasn't had a positive influence on me is insane. And Canadians, like Canada's a whole other podcast. Like we'll talk about it sometime.
Yeah.
But it's really
dude. I would love to do an Everything Canada podcast with you, where you just talk about everything.
I would
Canadian.
love to break down Canada for you. Like, you ever see that video Gavin did, like about because it was after Trump won and Americans were saying they were going to move to Canada, and Gavin.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that one Gavin did?
I think I know which.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I would love to break down Canada, but that's a separate issue. But like, I have not like when I meet like I told you I was on the phone trying to like get the Ticketmaster app on my iPhone from work, and I ended up on the phone with tech support with some girl in Georgia, and as soon as she answered, like we start talking, I'm like, "Where are you? Where are you?" And she's like, "I'm in Georgia." My first words out of my mouth, it was just a reflex. I was like, "USA, I love you." But it's like yeah, I have nothing but respect for the USA. Canada, more so Eastern Canada. Like that's one of the things. Western Canada, like the prairie provinces where it's mostly farms and oil and stuff, they tend to really like the USA. Eastern Canada, where it's like French socialists, and we don't even know what Ontario is at this point. They don't even know what they are. They're completely lost,
No cultural identity, man. Nothing there. That sucks.
Yeah, they're lost, So they automatically hate the USA, and they don't even know why. If you ask them why do you hate America, I don't think they could tell you. They just do.
It's like when people say they hate Nickelback. Nobody has a real good reason except for they heard that Nickelback sucks. That's the best thing to come out of Canada, by the way, is Nickelback. I'm not even saying that as a diss. I fucking
there was a time where
I love
like
Nickelback.
Nickelback, Celine Dion, who's that other girl who sang that song "Call Me Maybe"?
Carly Rae Jepsen.
Yeah,
dude.
There was a time where like those and Shania Twain. There was a time where like Canadians.
Oh, she's Canadian. Wait, Shania Twain's Canadian?
Yeah, she's Canadian.
Dude, what? I thought she was okay. That actually blows my mind. I thought she was a country girl in America. Okay.
There was a time where they were all topping the charts and they were all Canadian.
That blows my well, Our Lady Peace is an example of like so Canadian rock has influenced me since a young child, Right. Holy crap, yeah.
I will say this too. There was a time in the 90s where Canadians had the NBA MVP Steve Nash. They had the NHL MVP Joe Thornton, and they had, what else did they have? A Canadian kicked the winning field goal in the Super Bowl. It was like the kicker for the Colts. Was it Vanderjagt or something?
What's his nuts? for the Colts.
And a Canadian won the MVP in baseball, Justin Morneau. And it was all in the same year. Canadians won like everything.
That's
it was
fucking
like
incredible.
Yeah, it was like
Holy
in the
shit.
late 90s or something. But yeah, there was and George St. Pierre was like the UFC champion coming up. But
I think it's all the Canadians were had a chip on their shoulder. They're like, we're tired of coming in number 2. we're like, we want to put Canada on the map a little bit, you know.
Yeah, there was
I
a
love
time.
it.
There was like a 1 year where they won everything or something.
I love it, man.
But yeah, we
love
can do a
it.
deep dive into Canada another time. But yeah, it's complicated. It's like, you know, like I'm what they call Métis, which is, it's a long story, but there's a mixture of like French and what you guys call Native American.
God, yeah.
And those
yeah.
people had a rebellion against the Canadian government in like the 1880s. But like I read a whole book on it by some lawyer, and she's Métis. It's weird because a lot of the Métis who are like Native American are like 6'6" with like blonde hair and blue eyes, because a lot of the French people who first came to Canada were from Normandy, and Normandy was settled by Vikings in like the year 9/11. It was like a guy named Rolf the Walker, and they called him the Walker because he was so big he couldn't ride a horse. And they later became the Normans who invaded England in 1066. So it's funny because like I'll see like things on TV where Normans. Again, I'm not 6'6", blonde hair and blue eyes, but they are, and we're all Métis, and they're complaining about like racial discrimination. It's like no one discriminating against you. You can do whatever you want, but it's like, but you know, I read this woman's book, right? She's a lawyer. The first chapter, she talks about, well, you know, the Métis spent most of their time drinking, gambling, partying, having orgies, stuff like that, right? And then they ended up having to leave a rebellion against the Canadian government at the time in the 1880s because they wanted to settle the West as Canada. And the Métis were like, no, we want our own country, right? And I'm like, you just spent the first part of the book talking about how you guys are too wild. You know, it's like these Scottish people who created Canada in Ontario and Quebec, they're not going to let you just have a country. They know you're like, I know my family, they're wild people. Like my family is like drinking, fist fights, rock and roll, group sex. Like that's my family, okay? Like you can't leave it to them to start a country, okay? Like let the Scottish start a country. Like, you know, they're cheap, they're good with money. It's like let them handle the money, let them come up with the laws. They'll let you live within it, but they let some rebellion. Like we want our own country. It's like it's not happening, okay? You have to work with the Scottish, you know. It's like,
Get out of here, me boy. No, I cannot do the Scottish accent I always like try to do the Jimmy McInnes Scottish accent though. Like I like Gavin McInnes's Jimmy McInnes where he does his dad's accent. He's like, oh yeah, get out of here, me boy, or something like that. Well,
Gavin's a fascinating example. Like, what do you think of Gavin? There's a lot of sides to Gavin. You know, there's the cocaine group sex side to Gavin. There's the conservative side to Gavin.
Yeah, he went through phases, man. Everybody, man. We've all gone through phases where like we've gone for like a couple of years we drank too much, a couple of years where we're doing all sorts of stupid shit for a while. You know, like it happens. Like it just freaking happens, man. And I don't know. Gavin's an interesting fellow, though. I love him. I think he's just a very creative dude. Like the points that he makes, while they're very, I like him. I love the points he makes. Actually, it's tough for me to argue against a lot of the stuff he talks about too, because it's like, because you know, if you kind of like search deep down in your soul and you kind of like look at some of the statistics, and you're like, okay, my man's got a point on a lot of shit, you know. Like, but
he always gives the example of a food truck. He co-owned a food truck with someone at some point, and someone offered to buy the rights to the food truck, and his partner said, like, no, we're not going to sell it for that much. And Gavin's point is like, you know, when he watches Shark Tank or any of these shows, yes, sell, give them whatever they want, you know, because his point is, if you're a creative person, you'll come up with a new idea.
Exactly. You know, yeah. So there's nothing wrong with, the whole goal is to, you know, create something beautiful, eventually sell off that beautiful thing. and then move on to the next thing. And then you get, basically, if you're smart enough, you'll demand like a permanent royalty or something like that.
Yeah, or you'll just create a new idea.
Yeah.
You know, Gavin's had like a few careers, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're not a creative person, you know, then don't be an entrepreneur because you're gonna ruin your life. You're gonna be like a 200 grand in debt or something. Get a job at a factory, or like I kind of am a creative person, but I'm a government bureaucrat.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm kind of like thinking I might break out of this situation, you know. But you know, like I agree with Gavin's point, you know, like people offer you money, like that Steven Crowder thing, you know, where they offered him money. Like take the money. If it all falls through, you're creative enough to create a new thing, you know. That's why I respect creative people. Like I'm in a local community that's a small town, but long story short, we have a lot of artists, you know, and I buy their work and I respect them, you know, and they're not rich people. But you know, I have nothing but respect for artists, you know, and it's like, you know, I respect creativity. You know, a lot of these people aren't rich. You know, I'm a Smashing Pumpkins fan. I remember Billy Corgan went before the U.S. Congress in some hearing about royalties and the radio and all that. He's like, you know, most musicians aren't rich. Most musicians play like an instrument on like one song on an album, or like do one little thing. You know, they might do one tour with like John Mellencamp and no one sees him again. You know, that's a reality for most musicians. Most aren't Billy Corgan. Most don't have a 34-year career of like, you know, where you're making like hits and everything. You know, most aren't. You know, who's still making hits? Red Hot Chili Peppers. Red Hot Chili Peppers are like, it's not 1 in 100. It's not 1 in 1,000. It's like 1 in 100 million. You know.
See, the thing is, I think that also another formula is the people who are just never give up, even when they're told no a million times. Example, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger as an example of this because it took him a while to land a Hollywood role. He had to get denied a lot. Another guy, you know, Rocky Balboa, the guy, I can't remember the actor's name at the moment, but the guy who played Rocky, basically. Sylvester Stallone is his name. That's right. Okay, Sylvester Stallone. He had just, you know, he definitely didn't have the voice or even the face for a Hollywood movie, but he didn't take no for an answer. He kept talking and going to different places. I think that the ability to not take no, well, to be able to take no a million times is more important than taking it once, you know? So if you can learn to take no a million times in the ass, then you could do anything. And that's me. Like I've been rejected by so many jobs. For instance, I've been rejected from women back in the day. You know, I've been rejected by friends, you know, stuff like that, just because I'm just a weird guy. But yeah, no, I think the thing is, I think that I think I don't even look at it as rejection at this point. I look at it as an advantage. I think when people tell me no, it just makes things better. I'm just like, okay, cool. Let's find other people who will tell me no or yes. I mean, I want them to say yes, obviously, but I'm just like, let's see if I can get like, you know what I mean? Like, because with my show, I have to every day, whether I realize it or not, I'm getting told by a lot of people every day on my show. Think about it. If somebody like let's say some random person A and B decide to watch my show, right? They're watching my show. They're like, hey, I don't like this guy, so I'm going to not subscribe to him. That's a no. There's another person says no. Ooh, but person C may like my show. They watch it and they're like, okay, I'll subscribe, but I need a million no's and a few yeses. Is all I need. I don't mind getting a million no's. I just need more, just a few more yeses, even if I have to pile through tons of no's, basically, if that makes sense.
No, you are 100% right. It's like, I'm going to give an example in a second, but one thing that's etched in my brain, which I didn't think of at the time, you know, I wasn't super political person at the time, so I didn't have any baggage, but I remember on September 11th when like the towers came down, and I remember Rudy Giuliani, like, you know, like apparently it was kind of dumb of him. He put their command center in the towers and that was destroyed, so he shouldn't have done that. But he's marching towards the towers, right? And he's got like staff behind him and they've got masks on. And he's like, okay, that street's blocked off. Okay, we'll go down this street. When that street's blocked off, okay, we're going towards the towers. We're going to we're going to be on the ground doing press conferences. You know, they're not Joe Biden. They're not any of these people who are like, they're not like, you know, what we have in Canada where people are like, you know, 1,000 miles away from anything that's happening. He's like, no, I'm marching towards the towers. I'm going to be taking questions in front of exactly what happened, you know. So I always think of Rudy Giuliani marching towards the towers with the dust and the asbestos and everything he was dealing with. But like, that's like the ultimate no. That's the ultimate, you know, don't go this way. He's like, no, we're going this way. I don't care if there's another attack. If I die, I die. But I'm the mayor of the city, and people are going to see me in front, and I'm going to answer some questions, you know. But, you know, I think of Quentin Tarantino, you know. People think of Quentin Tarantino as, you know, because back when I was like, I didn't know anything. I only knew like entertainment. It's a long story, but the point is that I knew about movie directors for some reason. But, you know, he's like, you know, people said I had all this overnight success. He's like, any success I had came after 10 years of nothing working out.
Yeah.
You know, of being completely broke, minimum wage. I couldn't afford bus fare. You know, it's like, you know, he got a little bit of money from selling a couple scripts. He was going to shoot Reservoir Dogs for like $5,000, which is all he had. He's like, we can't afford a warehouse. We'll shoot it in a garage, and we'll just have actors with white shirts against a white background saying my dialogue, and that'll be my indie film. Ended up working out for him. But, you know, he heard nothing but no for 10 years.
Yeah.
People are like, you're an idiot. Your movies are awful. Even when he won the Palme d'Or for Pulp Fiction, there's people in the crowd in France telling him, like, they're screaming as he's giving his speech, your movie is shit. They're walking out. It's like, so, I mean, like, no, like, you know, you're going to hear no nonstop, you know. But I was thinking Tarantino, like a guy who looks goofy, who was trying to be an actor. You know, he got like one part on the Golden Girls one time. That was his role. He spent 2 years shooting a movie, which I have a copy of. It was never finished. It was called My Best Friend's Birthday. It was his like film. And it was never finished. And at the end, he finally got around to actually having enough money to develop the film to see what he shot. And it was nothing what he thought he shot. It was just garbage, which I actually like the movie, but I understand what he's saying. So, you know, you could have like decade of nothing working out. That's what I mean. Like, you know, even I'm a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan, you know, they had some dark years where they went from playing stadiums to playing tiny clubs where like no one's showing up. You know, Aerosmith had some dark years. All these bands had, like Pumpkins had some dark years, and Billy talked to Neil Young, you know, and he's like, you know, what should I do? Should I keep going? And Neil Young was like, what you need to do is put your head down and just keep going, you know? And now the last time I saw when I tried to see the Pumpkins in 2012 in Vancouver, the show was canceled due to lack of ticket sales. You know?
That's so crazy.
I saw them
with Smashing Pumpkins, really? The lack of ticket sales? That's
in
crazy.
2012, yeah. I saw them in November of this year, November like 11th, and the same arena that was shut down to lack of ticket sales was sold out. It was like a hockey arena sold out. So like Neil Young said, all you can do is so my advice to you is put your head down, just keep grinding, just keep making content. And eventually, because that's all you can do. And eventually something will happen. Something will go viral. Something will catch on. Like Report of the Week. Do you know Report of the Week? The guy that wears a suit and tie, reviews fast food. He's like a nerd.
Oh, yes. I love that. I love that fucking kid.
That guy had
I love him.
That guy had 2 or 3 years of nothing. He was getting like 5 views of video just reviewing energy drinks.
That's pretty much what I get for a lot of my videos. Like there will be times where one will get like 100 views. My best one still to so far is how to find no porn on YouTube, which is almost at 100,000 views. It's ridiculous, but those actually help me get more subscribers. Oddly enough, those random ones that people keep finding on the search.
Well, I've noticed your subscribers have gone up lately, though, by like 100 or so.
Oh yeah, no, it was crazy when you get closer to 1,000 subscribers. It starts snowballing. Like it snowballs a lot because you're getting more viewership, which means the more viewership you get, the more your content can be distributed to more different types of people, because the algorithm starts to realize what people are watching out of your content. So if people are watching, like, I don't know, let's say I got 1,000 subscribers and they all seem to like the fact that I talk about investing, right? I'm going to start being shown on more investing recommendations. There's going to be like automatic recommendations for one of my videos. And I find that's been happening more lately is my videos get on recommended, they get on searches and stuff. So I'm trying to get to that 1,000K marker so that way I can keep snowballing and get more. Mainly because one, I like having you on, and I don't know. I just like knowing that people get to hear your voice and stuff, and people get to hear my voice, get to hear other people's voices. So one of my plans, one of my grand plans is I want to be the Mr. Beast of free advertising. So I just want to I want to find people who want to advertise a product, but I don't want them to pay me to advertise it. I just want to talk about it. You can
get sponsors. It's going to be some gold company or it's going to be whatever. It doesn't matter. They're going to pay you, And the thing is, here's Billy Corgan's advice, because people have asked Billy Corgan, how do I stand out? It's endless noise now. It's just content everywhere. How do I stand out? And he's like, what you have to do is make it more personal. Like what I recommend for you is be more personal. Talk deeper about your personal life. Because that's
just gonna make I don't always like to go there, but I see what you're saying.
No, because it doesn't matter if you're making short films. It has to be more personal. If you're doing reactions, I watch a lot of reactors. They're all mostly black female male couples because I like to see what black people have to say about white entertainment. I want to see about what they say about this 80s movie that's like 99% white people. I want to see what they say about even Jim Goad. Jim Goad, people call him racist and stuff. He's not really, but I understand the criticism. But he's he loves black reactors. He wants to see what a black couple has to say about Led Zeppelin. He wants to see what all this stuff. So, but they make it personal. What does it mean to them? I want to know what I want to know what The Cure means to some 22-year-old black couple in 2023. What does it mean to them? So what I would do if I was you, I would say, what's going on in the world, or whatever you're talking about, mean to you, who you are in 2023, and make it personal. What does it mean to your budget? What does it mean to your personal life? What does it mean to your relationships? That's what, because when people connect with you, I check Twitter, right? But I don't check, there's so much you can check on Twitter if you just want news, right? But I check just what's personal. I check Ann Coulter because I'm getting the news filtered through her personality. Yeah. And I want Ann Coulter's personality. I check some people in Canada because I want their personality, So people want your personality. They want the Michael Garza personality. What is some school shooting, or what is some Chinese balloon, or what does it mean for your life specifically? So that's what I would do for you. Make it as personal as you can. If you're not someone who likes talking about your personal life, I would just do what you can, make it so whatever you want to talk about your budget, your job.
But I think talking about how I feel about things helps out, because feelings are a very transmittable form of, I'm good at expressing my feelings, I guess. Sometimes I could come across probably a little bit like Lex Friedman, which, but I do try to at least, what do you call it? I try to get personal when I can. I think I do need to do it more often, though. I think I need to actually take it more, for instance, I'll give you an example. Let's say I did one on investing right now and been what dividend investing means for me. I could say, I was at a dark point in my life where I was working dead end jobs. It sucked. It made me feel like crap. And then I started dividend investing, and now I finally feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel in my life, and I don't feel like I have to constantly work and slave for the rest of my life. And that's something like that is an example of how maybe I could connect to the audience about, I was feeling like crap one day and now I don't, something like that. I don't know.
That's 100% what you should do. If you want to grow your audience, people want to connect with the person, because people are alienated. They're alienated by the technology.
Yeah.
They keep saying these stats, right? People will post stats, I don't know, 70% of people say they don't have any personal friends or something like that, right?
That's a rough one, man.
I'm in that category. I don't have any personal friends. I've tried to make personal friends, but it's complicated. But the point is that people want to connect with you Michael Garza, you could be their personal friend, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for instance, I consider, the amount of conversations we've had, I feel pretty much like you become a friend to me, and I appreciate that more than you realize. Just your friend. I consider you a friend basically. So I know it sounds stupid and cheesy, but you've been. I just enjoy talking to you. You're very fun. It's like even though I got a couple friends and stuff like that I hang out with, you're like a kindred spirit. I don't know, like it's something weird like that.
But look what you got going for you. You're not racist. You're not classist. You're not elitist. You'll talk to anybody. You have a lot of different interests. You can talk about music. You can talk about investing. Anyone who can talk about investing. I've had no interest in investing up until 2 years ago. I knew nothing about it. The fact that you can do that, I mean, it doesn't open up a mass audience, but it opens up an extra demographic.
Yeah.
Like like how much? What does PPC Ian get on a video? Like 30,000 viewers. Like that sounds like a lot when you don't have a lot of viewers, but the reality is, with like 7-8 billion people, 30,000 viewers is nothing, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because we've got our little dividend community,
No, yeah.
But you have like there's nothing like let's just say for argument's sake, you're slightly more conservative. Like maybe that's not true. Maybe that's not true. But let's just say that for argument's sake, that's true. You're still open to talking to anybody. You'll talk about any issue. You can have a mass audience. You're not, I don't think like someone on the far left would watch you and say, I can't listen to this guy. And like the extreme far left might, right? Yeah. But they're offended by everything, and they don't watch anything. Like they do meth in their apartment at 3 a.m. They don't do anything, So you got a lot going for you. Like you could have like a mass audience. Not necessarily that's what you're going for, but you could have that,
Well, I think what I have going for me is that I genuinely want to help people. Like I genuinely I don't sure, I make a little bit of money here and there from the show. Yes, on Spotify I do. Not like a grandiose amount of money, but the fact that I can still make a little bit, it's incentive mainly. Human beings need incentive. I don't care who you are. You could be Mother Teresa. You could be everybody needs incentive.
Okay. Here's how you go viral. How old are you?
34.
Here's how you go viral. Your next video I want you to post is, I'm 34 years old. Here are my life lessons. And that's like a handful of things. Here's everything I did right. Here's everything I did wrong. Be like life lessons for Zoomers. Here's what you should do right now.
Oh.
Here's how you will get like thousands of views, It's like, even I'm curious. Like you'd probably teach me things, Like I have a lot of life lessons because I have a lot of fails, Like Scribecash is another black female reactor who I watch. I watch a lot of black female reactors, but she's like we don't take losses, we take lessons, Yeah. So it's like I have a lot of lessons because I've had a lot of losses, but I think for you it's like I'm 34 years old. Here's my wisdom. And here's what I'll tell you: what I did right and what I did wrong. Like I feel like that'll get you thousands. I don't know if you're shadow banned or not, but if you're not, I feel like you'll get like thousands of views.
I don't think I'm completely shadow banned because I see videos of mine that actually do really well, and sometimes I do searches. So what I do is I actually this is gonna sound crazy. I go on my VPN sometimes. I'll go on like a VPN, and then I'll like open some random browser, right? Like I'll go in like Opera or something like that. And I go to YouTube and I search some of my video titles, and I actually don't rank too poorly on some of them. So I'm not completely shadow banned on YouTube, luckily. I'm surprised, to be honest. But
and also I want to say you're an American. You're the best people in the history of the world. Like I'm a historian.
Wouldn't go that far.
I've studied civilizations back to the Stone Age, the Bronze Age. You guys are the number one people. Look, people criticize like you remember when do you ever watch Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 9/11?
Oh, you know what? I never got around to watching it, even when
what's funny is I saw that documentary when I was in northern Alberta, which is oil country. That's where the Canada oil comes from. Yeah. And it's like, but it's an anti-oil documentary. It's all about the Iraq War and stuff. So I see it in a movie theater with oil workers, right? And half the people are clapping, half don't know what to think. some people are like, I don't know, what the hell's going on, right?
Yeah.
But what was I going to say about Americans? But it's like, yeah, you guys are the best people. And it's like, here's what I have to say. Like, I didn't have a lot of parental guidance growing up. So in Canada growing up in the 80s, we had like 10 TV channels, right? And I lived in a valley in the middle of like a forest, which means we couldn't get radio stations. All we got was like, I could get a little of the 1190 KEX out of Portland, Oregon, which mostly played Art Bell at night because
Bell,
yeah, but we couldn't get it in the daytime, so I didn't hear a lot of music, right? So whatever music I heard. So what I mostly got was movies because we had video stores. So most of my cultural influence is like Steven Spielberg, because that's what kids watch in the 80s. We watched Goonies, we would watch E.T., we watched Gremlins, we watched Star Wars, George Lucas. So it's like, I feel like in all those movies, like, I feel like I got deep into like my Norse Viking past, but I also have like a Judeo-Christian past too, which I'm starting to move towards, which is, your George Lucas, your Steven Spielberg. It's a lot of morality kind of thing. They're morality movies, your Star Wars, your whatever, your Goonies, your Willow, all those, your Jaws, all those movies at the time, right? So it's like American culture. Like, I feel like that's what kept me from getting into drugs, was just some sort of like morality kind of thing, which, I mean, whatever you want. You could debate Judaism. I've read the Bible. We can get it another time, but America gave a platform for someone like Steven Spielberg to succeed. Yeah, like he came from a good family. He had the opportunity for film school. George Lucas didn't come from a broken home. None of these people came from. But I did come from a broken home, so I got a glimpse though into what life could be like in other places. Like what life could be like for successful people or people. I will say this about Steven Spielberg. For a Jew who came from a non-broken home, he totally, like in a movie like E.T., right, where the mom's divorced, no one knows where the dad is. The kids are like kind of out of control. They're kind of fending for themselves because the mom's working. He 100% captured like my reality,
Yeah.
And it's like, like Stanley Kubrick talked about the TV show Roseanne, which I watched a lot with Roseanne Barr, another Jew, right? And it's like, he's like, Roseanne is the best representation of life in middle America we've ever had. And my whole family watched Roseanne. My grandparents watched it. And my whole family fought just like the people on the TV show. I think that's why they liked it. They could relate to it. Yeah. But it's like, so I have nothing respect for Americans. And, people complain about Jews, but the Jewish entertainment captured my life as a non-Jew in another country. Like, completely, so I totally respect that. And it's like, so I have nothing respect for America and the entertainment you produce. Like the reason I'm still alive, I think I never got into drugs, is after high school, I'd watch movies in the 80s, right? Because I had a lot of babysitters because my mom was partying a lot. Yeah. So then we'd rent movies a lot, right? So but at the end of high school, I realized, there's a whole universe of movies I've never seen that weren't blockbusters, that weren't Spielberg or Lucas, right? And it's like, my goal initially after high school was, it'd be cool to see every Kubrick movie, right? Yeah. Because he's like a famous guy. And so after I saw that, then I started getting into Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese. And then you start getting into Europe, Werner Herzog, Jean-Luc Godard, Francois Truffaut. I got deep into like all these directors, and it's like, so, but the point is, like, America brought that culture to me. So, I can never like, America has done nothing but make me successful. Like, I don't understand these Canadians who attack America. Like, whatever, school shootings or whatever. It's a country with 400 million people. Do you know how many crimes can happen? But do you know how many crimes don't happen with a country with 400 million people? Yeah. Like, do you know how many Michael Garzas there are? Who are just living their lives and going to work and, like, not messing with anyone. You're only helping people, So America has only helped me. I have nothing but respect. American music, like, I'm not taking shots at Canada or anywhere else. You know, I'm just saying I have nothing but respect for Americans. I don't understand like whatever negativity might exist. I think it's just jealousy, to be honest.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about America, and I think the secret sauce really is freedom, as cheesy as that's going to sound. I think that when you have people who are like legitimately free to think and don't have to worry about what they say, like, because, you know, back in the day, if you said anything that was against the church or the state or the, you know, we're talking about like back in like old European days and shit, like way back then, you could get, you know, your head chopped off. You could be called a witch. Hell, actually, even in early, back in the olden days in America, they used to do the Salem witch hunts and stuff way back in the day. Like, it wasn't always pretty in America, obviously, but I do admit, I think the one thing was that we all eventually were still trying to go for that whole idea of we'd have no king. I think that's the beauty about America, is we're the first country to really just say, we have no king. We have no king who rules over us. We, the people, are sovereign. We ourselves are our own king. And I think that was kind of the biggest, that might be the best idea to come out of America. And I think it's influenced a lot of countries, is that we don't need somebody to tell us what to fucking do. We need to, well, we can make our own decisions. We got this, you know. We'll falter, obviously, but, you know, things happen. And I think freedom, that's one of the reasons why you see so many successful companies and so much creativity out of America, is because you're not going to have your head chopped off for having a bad idea or a good idea. You're just, you know, there's a free marketplace of ideas, and you get to, everybody gets to pick and choose the ones they like. That's why I like it. But
no, you're 100% right. Like, I'm a Curtis Yarvin fan, and he's a monarchist. Like, I know if you've ever heard his plan for America, which is you need a secret council that no one even knows who they are, and they run America and they elect a monarchist. But the ultimate, like, the reality is, I agree with you. If you have a high quality people, then they need to be able to decide for themselves. Like you said, you know, you not have a king. You know, you be able to have freedom. You know, I totally agree with that. Now, Curtis Yarvin maybe is more pessimistic. He's like a monarchist kind of thing. Curtis Yarvin throws out the entire 20th century because people criticize him. What about fascism? What about Hitler? He's like, you know what? Just forget the entire 20th century and think about before that kind of thing. So I'm still debating that. I'm reading the books that Curtis Yarvin read, and I'm like, let's see if I come to the same conclusion. But yeah, freedom, it's like, yeah, like you said, the best ideas, patents, creativity. But you know,
they come out of the freest countries. Like I'm not saying America's the only free country, obviously. There's still tons of other ones. But I was gonna say the countries that tend to have the most creativity are the ones where government is not that involved in the people's lives, is what I think personally. That's my opinion. But
yeah, I mean, Alex Jones is talking about Europe, and he's like, you know, in Europe, it's hard to be rich unless you inherited like from like an aristocratic family. It's hard to get ahead in Europe. And yeah, I mean, what you know, technologically is Europe or Asia produced or Africa produced, you know, or, you know, Canada had a few things in the past. I don't know what we've produced lately. It's like, you know, like America, you know, the only thing I'm grateful for America for is that they haven't killed me. America can kill, like America has a military that can invade Canada at any time, and they haven't done it. You know, I think that's part of the morality. It's like Sarah Vowell. I think I've mentioned Sarah Vowell. Do you know who Sarah Vowell is?
Name doesn't ring a bell.
She's a very quirky author. Okay, I can't remember how she got started, but she ended up on NPR because she has a funny voice.
No.
And she's put out a series of books. Like some of them were just random essays on America, and then she did one on like the early like colonists. She did one on the history of Hawaii. But she played like Violet in the Disney movie The Incredibles. She's her voice. But anyway, she's a quirky author who's kind of faded into obscurity. She never had kids. She never got married. She might be like 50 now, but she's part of the Gen X kind of thing. Her first book was called Radio On, about her listening to radio for a year, and it's really weird. Anyway, I became obsessed with Sarah Vowell for a while because she'd go on Conan O'Brien. And I'm like, how many essayists go on Conan O'Brien? Like, these usually actors and stuff, right? But she talks a lot about America and everything. But But whatever I was gonna say is, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I owe everything to America, because like the town I lived in, like I said, was a valley. We couldn't get satellite. We couldn't get radio. All we got was 10 TV channels, and half of them were American. And then we got a video store, right? So I have to say, I don't have a lot of friends in Canada because people don't get me here. Like they think I'm kind of loud and obnoxious. And it's like, or like right wing or whatever. But I'd be like considered like a moderate American, And it's like, but I'm still alive. It's like, but they consider me like a strange curiosity, like you'd see in a freak show, But in America, I'd be like just sort of like a kind of a boring person. Like the average Canadian's very boring in America, So it's like,
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, dude, I'm pretty boring. I would give yourself a little more credit. You're more entertaining than I am, man.
Yeah.
Trust me, I think you've had more interesting experiences than I have. I'm pretty fucking boring though.
But look at the Smashing Pumpkins. Like I'm not saying I haven't been influenced by Europe or Asia, because I have some influences there too, through artwork and film and different things like that, music. But it's just so weird that America is who people attack. It's like America is where you go to live your life and be whoever you want to be, It's
yeah, I think a lot of it also, I wouldn't even say it's jealousy. I think it's actually, I think it's just ignorance. A lot of it is, I think that these other people in these other countries don't automatically understand that like the reason for America's success is not an accident. It's not like we scratched off a lottery ticket and won $1 billion. It's a formula. Success doesn't just fall on a country's lap. It usually is, if a country can, I really do believe if a country can allow entrepreneurship to happen, just basic capitalism to happen, of course, still have some minor regulations on certain things. If there's anything, to prevent bad practices and shit. But outside of it, though, I mean, America is very pro. I mean, there's a lot of other countries that are very pro capitalist and pro entrepreneurship. And I don't know. I mean, America's great. I love America, and I'm grateful for America too, man. I'm lucky I live here. I honestly, I like Canada. I think Canada's pretty cool. I just think that as far as, I mean, I consider kind of Canada a part of America, to be honest, even though it's separate. I know that sounds crazy to say because they're technically separate countries, obviously.
Well, it's like, let me put it this way. It's like 2 or 3 years ago, I never got involved in politics directly, but there was a local it's from a party in Canada who's like a new party, and I started campaigning for this one guy, right? And sometimes he couldn't make all the appearances in my local riding, right? So I would go to like a farmer's market and hand out pamphlets and stuff. And this girl comes up to me, and she's from upstate New York, right? Just visiting Canada. And we get into this discussion about politics, and she's like, at the end of it, she's like, just so Canada, America's the one. We got the nuclear weapons and like everything else. So yeah, ultimately, what happens in America is more important than what happens in Canada, right? And but a lot of Canadians would be like, like they'd get an argument over that, right? But I was like, no, you're right. What happens in America is more important than what happens in Canada, because like you got people staring you down right now. You got China staring you down. You got Russia staring you down.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm rooting for America if that ever fight breaks out, right? But it's like it'd be like America and Israel against everyone else. Maybe Italy would join you because they got, Maloney. I like Maloney. But the point is like, but she's right, America is where the discussion happens. That's why the whole world kind of focused on America. Like, what's the debate in America? What's going on with transgenders? What's going on with race? What's going on with taxes? What's going on with globalism? People are focused on America. Like if I was an American, every time I left my house, I would feel like there's a spotlight on me. Like there's like, like I don't understand how Americans like commit crimes or do anything. It's like, you're an American. Everyone's watching you. Everyone's watching you for an example. Everyone wants to be you, unless you're like a European aristocrat with 9 mansions and you don't care. Everyone else is like, like like even European socialists are like, like you only exist. Like the only reason China hasn't nuked Europe is because America exists. Like you're an important person. Like I'm not comfortable living in Canada. We could get nuked anytime, And it's like, so you're, just have that self-worth is all I'm saying,
Yeah.
Like people run you down constantly, but I'm like, ignore all that. You're who people are looking to. Like the first thing I do, I wait. My work starts at like 8:30 a.m., 9 a.m., and I'm working from home like 4 to 5 days a week. I roll out of bed. I turn on my computer. The first thing I do, I type in the letter F on my Google Chrome, and Fox News comes up. I go to Fox News. I'm not looking for like what sort of the story of the day. I'm just looking for, did anyone get nuked while I was sleeping?
Oh.
Is America still there? I just want to know, did Oregon get nuked? Did anyone no one got nuked? And then it's a good day. As long as it's like Vince McMahon, like we talked about pro wrestling, like he was abused by his stepfather. He got beaten up a lot. And what he learned from that is, as long as I'm alive, I win. As long as my stepfather, who abused me in a trailer park in North Carolina, didn't kill me, I win. So that's what I look for every day when I press F and Fox News automatically comes up on the Google Chrome. And it's something dumb about something Kamala Harris said or something. But it's like, is America still there? Then I win. As long as America's still there, I win every single day.
I love it, man. That's actually beautiful stuff, dude. I just realized we've been on here for a bit of time, man. I will.
That's nothing. Lex Friedman did an 8-hour podcast with an Indian scientist.
Well, that's because Lex Friedman's a robot. That's because Lex. I'm still convinced Lex is a robot. By the way,
when I logged into you, I'm 58 minutes and 3 seconds into 2 hours 7 minute 57-second Smashing Pumpkins concert from Utrecht, Netherlands in the year 2000. So.
I love it, man. I love it. But yeah, no, I do actually gotta eat something here real quick.
Yeah, you get up early, right? Do you work tomorrow?
Well, I work from like 10 to 7, basically. So I usually go to bed at around 1:30. I just need to eat something.
One thing before you go is, you don't have to tell what your job is, but how do you feel about your job? Because I don't know how I feel about my job. How do you feel about your job?
I honestly like what I do. I really do. Like, I actually enjoy it, straight up. I have fun just I don't know, like, how I told you I like helping people. Like, I get to help people on the phones every day. I get to solve some problems. Usually they're, pretty much at this point, they're all solvable. I've seen just about every problem there is to see at the job I work at. But it's fun though. I just like, at the end of the call, I like hearing the person say, "Oh, thank you. You just made my night," or "You made my day," or "You were able to solve this a lot faster than the last person," because maybe the last person wasn't as good as I was, and I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe I just saw something they didn't," I don't know, something simple like that. And, but no, I just really enjoy helping people. It's something that, I don't know what it is, man. I'm not going to say like, I'm not going to be like, "Oh, I'm holier than thou. I love helping people." Oh, no, nothing like that. Nothing like that. But, I really just have fun, just chit-chatting a little bit, helping people out. And
yeah, but you're tangentially connected to the entertainment industry, basically, right?
I get. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
But like, getting it back to Sarah Vowell, she wrote a whole essay on. Do you know those things in arcades where you shoot the basketball in the hoop, like Papa Shot?
Yeah, Papa Shot. Yep.
She wrote a whole essay on Papa Shot and how it's the most American thing, because it's like a complete time waster, and the most American thing you can do is waste time, because in a lot of countries that like make you into a slave or whatever you're doing, you're not allowed to waste time. You're not allowed to do whatever you want. So what I like about you is like, like I'll play a little Sega Genesis, I'll play a little whatever. Like, thank you, America, for like, creating an environment where I can do whatever I want. It's like, it's like you can waste time and that's okay. Like, there's like Thaddeus Russell's whole thing is like, he's totally against the Protestant work ethic, where work is inherently moral, right? He's like, no, things that aren't work are also just as moral. Like a lot of Protestants became very wealthy through the Protestant work ethic, right? But did they have the best lives? I mean, and I'm not saying living, like being happy all the time is the best thing. Like last Christmas, I drank an entire bottle of wine and read the book of Revelations from the Bible, right? And you know how on YouTube you can have like different ambiances, right? You can get a coffee shop ambiance or whatever you want.
Yeah.
Well, the book of Revelations is written by this guy named John of Patmos, who lived on a Greek island and lives in a cave and wrote the book of Revelations. So I found a cave in the Aegean Sea where the waves are crashing or whatever. And I read the entire book listening to the waves crashing in a cave with a bottle of wine kind of thing.
Damn.
And it's like, but it's like, with Sarah Vowell, like the most important, like that's freedom. Playing Papa Shot is freedom. You can't play Papa Shot in North Korea. There's countries like Russia where if you travel there, the travel agent gives you a booklet of stuff not to do in Russia. And one of the things says, if you smile or laugh while you're in Russia, don't do that because people will think you're stupid or crazy. But in America, you're allowed to smile or laugh, is what I'm saying. So
I think this thing, man. Happiness. If everybody wants to be successful, I think happiness is a prerequisite. So I think more people should smile even when they're working, man. Like, no matter what, I used to, I wouldn't say I had a shit-eating grin on my face when I was working, but I felt pretty good, and no matter what job I did, I was like, oh, this is nice. This is, because after I'm done here, I get to hang out with my friends. I get to do the I can still be productive and still have fun afterwards. I think that's the one thing that the world is missing is that knowledge of you can still be productive a certain amount of the day and then still be non-productive and still make it feel worthwhile, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just saying enjoy life. Do you know what life was like in the 1800s? 99% of people never left their hometown ever. 99% of people never left within 1 kilometer of where they were born. So I'm just saying it's like, just saying like when I worked at a gas station, I guess there were some rough days, but for the most part, customers would come in to buy cigarettes and Doritos, and they thought it was so weird that I was smiling. It's like, is this guy nuts? He works at a gas station, Or I worked at a food court in a mall. I worked at a bunch of crappy like places, right? But I always tried to be happy because it's complicated, but the point is that you have freedom, and especially in America, you're an American, like Henry Rollins has this whole thing about Israelis. It's like to be an Israeli is a crazy thing because a lot of people hate you and everything. It's like, but to be an American, it's like, think about all you've done for the world. You influenced the constitutions of European countries, and obviously, like you talked about, not everything America's done is great, but and there's been problems, but it's like, I'm just saying, as a Canadian, as someone who like loves, like, I won't get into it now, we don't have time, but there's a lot of like people who consider themselves like patriotic Canadians who I'm a big fan of, right?
Oh, yeah.
But but I find the most patriotic Canadians like Americans too, It's basically patriots versus globalism is kind of what it comes down to.
I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah. But yeah, I have to, say respect to you. I was in Mexico one time. I know you're only a little bit Mexico. But I was in Mexico one time. It's like, here's another movie I want you to watch. I mean, we don't have to do a video on it. But Al Pacino directed one movie in his whole life. It was a movie called Chinese Coffee, which never came out. He directed it in the 90s. It came out like 10 years later in a box set of like some Al Pacino movies. And it's based on a play that showed in New York like 3 times by some other writer, but it's called Chinese Coffee. He plays like a broke kind of writer guy, and he argues with some guy the whole movie. But it's like, he's plays some poor guy. But it's a great. If you ever look up Chinese Coffee by Al Pacino, but it's like,
I'll look that up sometime.
Yeah.
But hey, Tim, I will have to go here in just a little bit. Actually, just right now, because I'm feeling.
You're tanking. You're tanking.
I'm tanking.
You're younger
I'm
than
tanking.
me. And you're tanking.
Yeah, I'm a little off right now. I know I do have.
My uncle is 60, and we can watch 2 concert videos, but that's okay. We'll keep it going.
I will say that I'm probably most likely going to tonight. I'm going to probably be laying in bed with my phone using the YouTube app to remix this live video into a bunch of short clips, because it lets you turn these into shorts. So I might turn these into fun little short clips and just expose the coolness of our interview and stuff. And I don't know. I'm just tired today. I don't know what it is. I gotta. Yeah, maybe
well, I'm thankful. It's like, okay, we'll go. But yeah, thanks for everything. I really appreciate your channel. It's my way of getting onto YouTube. Like I said, I don't know if I've told you this, but I made some short films that one ended up on a website like a long time ago, and now I have it on a DVD. Maybe I'll show you the short films sometimes, but I plan on making more. But it was a time when I was very leftist, so it's kind of interesting to look back on.
That's cool though. That's still badass though.
Yeah, I was leftist, but working minimum wage, and like I had been suicidal for a long time, and I started making the short films after that happened. But it was sort of looking back on that time. We'll talk about it sometime. But yeah, thanks again for everything. Thank you to the United States. I really appreciate you. I appreciate your channel. I mean, the United States invented YouTube. This wouldn't even happen if it wasn't for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll talk about it another time. But thanks again. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Tim. Well, I always want to have you on, man. So I just anytime you feel like coming on, I may not always just to let you know, I may not always be able to, or I may be just too like out of it. Sometimes I get a little depressed. Sometimes I'm not gonna lie, but sometimes I won't always feel up to doing a live stream. But
I'm a Smashing Pumpkins fan. Our natural state is depression.
But yeah, dude, honestly, this lifted me up, man. So I want to thank you for at least, because I feel like I got to chill out. One thing I like about doing these, by the way, is I get to chill out with you. I feel like I'm chilling out with you in your room, which is awesome.
Like Neil Young told Billy Corgan, put your head down and keep going. You'll get there.
Well, I appreciate it, Tim. Hey, I'll let you go, man. I'm gonna eat some stuff. I gotta eat, put some food in my stomach. And anyway, I'll catch you later, bud.
I'll see you later.
All right, later, partner.
Thanks, bye.
Bye. All right, folks, it's the great Tim Smith, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Boom. Anyway, I gotta get my booty out of here. Well, I just gotta eat some food because I'm a hungry man. I'm a hungry man. Anyway, I need to have Tim on more often. That's the whole thing. I love the Tim Smith, baby. Woo! Anyway, catch you guys later, and Daddy-O's out later.